Gonna talk to the
Hey,
animals.
Liz,
Hey, Jeff.
the show. We're live.
Are we? Oh,
Yeah.
You've got me busy doing something now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you
It's
probably
all
can't
your
see.
fault.
You're not looking. I'm enjoying a nice IPA in my Jim Mercado designed Acme Airlines logo 500th episode
I wish I had
mug.
some of those.
Well, I'm going to bring them to you at some point. Maybe.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
You know I will.
Yeah, you know it.
It just won't be anytime soon, probably.
I'm sure
Hi,
you're
Michael
behind-
Kuipers.
I'm sure you're behind the fact that they're not flying 717s in here anymore. I'm sure you.
Oh, yeah. Whew, I saw that and went, oh, thank God. Now I don't have to come up with some excuse like reroute or something.
Thank you, schedulers or whoever the hell does that.
No, I was so disappointed. I was looking forward to spending New Year's Eve with you.
I have to tell
Didn't
you,
happen.
whoever that flight attendant is that went AWOL and stuff, I'm hating on her.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
And,
Micah.
you know,
Hi, Micah.
Sadly, if we had gone into the airport and got over to the gate before we,
Yeah.
instead of
But
going right
who'd have
back.
thought that was the case in Jackson, Mississippi, that there's another flight attendant floating around.
I know.
How's the audio, Micah? How's it going? Like, we need your feedback right away.
Hey, Uber Frank. I forget. Remind me, Frank. Did you move back to Wisconsin? I know you were down in Texas for a while, and then I think maybe you're back in Madison or somewhere in Wisconsin.
No, I think
maybe
he's not in Madison. I thought he was back in Wisconsin, but not in Madison.
Okay.
He'll
Well,
set
let
us
me know
straight.
where you are so we can get together sometime.
Yeah.
Catch up.
Yeah.
How's your
Maybe he'll
daughter,
actually come
Stephanie?
and see you. Oh, yes, Stephanie's great.
Maybe. I mean, Frank and Stephanie, his daughter, were just the most awesome, helpful people ever at the Oshkosh 2019.
I mean, I'm driving up the interstate, and then I turn off at the interchange, and there Frank and Stephanie are waiting for me to lead me into where you guys are parked, which is great.
Lead you into the promised land.
Exactly. I live back in the
Driftless hills of southwest Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
What does that mean? Driftless.
Maybe
Well,
he wants
you're
to
a
be
drifter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as he's not a grifter.
Yeah. Or a grinder.
Don't go there, Jeff.
Wait a minute. Let me find something that would be appropriate to play after that remark.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
Micah says the audio sounds good, except he doesn't seem to hear Steph, Rick, or Nick.
Well, you need to turn up the volume knob. Oh, wait, they're not here.
Really high.
Okay, yeah. So we'll probably, this bears repeating, but we're expecting, although we're not sure why he's not yet with us.
Should I maybe
Nick,
text him, do you think?
Yeah, would you?
Yeah,
Text him and see if maybe he's got the days wrong or something.
He did have a meeting, but I thought it was over at 5:30 or something. Anyway.
Oh, that might be what it is. That's right. Anyway, Nick Camacho should be joining us for the show. Captain Nick Anderson is still recovering, but he is at home. That's good news. He is out of the hospital, or out of hospital, as they like to say, and recovering nicely, although he's pretty exhausted from that ordeal. And so we told him to, please just continue to rest and get your strength back up. So he is.
Yeah, but you docked his pay.
Well, I did. I had to. Well, Liz,
You
we
and
didn't have to
Steffi
share
are such
that.
hard asses. I'm telling you.
We didn't have to share that with the community because it makes me sound.
I want them to know the real Jeff Nielsen.
Yeah, I deducted his pay by half.
He's into the minus now.
Yeah, he owes me money.
He owes you money.
I need to brighten that up a little bit. Anyway, so Nick is not going to be here, and
Nick A.
Nick A, and maybe Nick C. I don't know. Might be just Liz and I.
Yeah, I'll bring all of my aviation knowledge to bear. That should take about
Well,
half a second.
You know, you'd probably know almost as much as I do, so that's okay. Yeah.
Oh, here's
Man,
John Jester.
Micah. He was making so much that 90% cut wasn't even going to affect him. That's true. Oh, hey, John Jester. Finally on the ground for a recording. Good. I hope you're not grounded.
I hope you're not in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Nick and the show are 50%. Yeah. That's what we shoot for. You know that, Mike. Hey, John Abrams.
Another
welcome.
first-timer. Yeah, great.
Yeah. So we need to kind of talk. We're going to talk about that on the show today. We have a new patron, and his name is Mark Craig, and I don't think he's with us in the chat room right now. But hey, Edwin, you need to go over to the YouTube channel. That's where all the cool
Edwin,
kids are.
I'll send you the link. Just hang on.
Yeah. But anyway, hey Tim.
Okay, let me go.
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of people are. I guess I just take this for granted that people know how to get to the live show and watch the videos, because we refer to the videos a lot in our show and that kind of thing. So I'm thinking I need to talk about that on today's show, maybe during the Getting to Know Us segment, just to kind of, because it's a lot of fun. I think you would agree, you live audience peoples. Oh, Nick says he's on his way. Nick C. Okay. Rick was in fact, the reason why we're doing the show on Wednesday was because of Miami Rick. However, his company, Acme Giant, decided to use his flying services today, and so he couldn't join us today. So it's just me and Nick C and Liz Piper. And
Dr. Steph will be joining
Dr. Steph.
at some point, but that work
Yeah.
thing has gotten in the way there a bit.
Yeah, she's got a
At
lot
least
of.
that's what she says.
Yeah, we think it's probably.
Hi, Tony.
Yeah,
Yeah, hot dinner
probably
date.
one of her many boyfriends, probably. So. Yeah, I know you're listening to us, Steph.
Yeah.
We're on to you.
Right.
We're on to you. We know where we fall in your list of priorities.
Oh, John Jester just watched the Ducks go through the lobby there at the Peabody.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'd love to see that someday.
Well, there's
Sadly,
Nick
no,
C.
Micah, no way. I can't make it this time. I'd love to, but I can't be there. But I was telling Jeff, just for fun, I looked up if I was flying to the UK at the end of the month. Oh my God, the fares from Toronto to London right now are just sky high. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think we have enough in the
No.
coffee fund to pay for them.
Well, they're obscene in my
Well,
opinion.
I'm obscene. Hey, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Oh, good.
Hey, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
You're
That's
a little loud.
yeah.
A
You're
little-
on the hot side.
You want me
Hey,
to turn
you're
it
so hot.
turn it down
Oh,
over
hang-
here?
Hang
or-
on. Let me try something.
Okay. Yep, that's me.
Uh-oh. I think I can actually control his
Audio?
mic's. Oh, wait a minute. I thought I was able to do that before. Oh, maybe because he's muted, I can't edit his mic settings.
Oh.
When he unmutes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Okay, so I can edit his settings. That's so cool. I just noticed that last episode that I was just clicking on stuff, and I can actually control your mic volume from here.
Does that give you a
Okay.
huge sense of power there, Jeff?
It does.
Can't hear you.
Okay, start talking a little bit, Nick Camacho.
Okay.
Whoop.
All
How's it going? How does it
still-
sound?
Still pretty hot.
Still pretty
I'm
loud?
going to bring it down a little bit. Okay. I think that's better. What do you think, Liz? Is that better?
Just talk a little bit. Nick, just talk a
Oh,
little.
yeah, sorry about that. How's it going?
Still a little, I would say a little
Little hot?
But
Okay. Say, just do me a count up to 10.
1, 2,
yeah, that's
3,
better. Yeah,
4.
that sounds good.
5,
Okay.
6,
Excellent.
10.
Was that a little? Was that a little bit of a
Hey,
child?
hey.
Was that a child crisis there, Nick? For a minute?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Of course, today's a snow day, so
Oh yeah.
not only are they home, but they have been home all day, and they are
okay.
probably going to be at their wits' end. So
Cabin
hopefully,
fever. Uh-oh.
hopefully we can make it through this.
Yeah, I mean, if you
So
think
true,
that this is going to be pushing things, don't hesitate. I mean, you can take care. Family comes first.
Yeah, no. It's yeah, we're fine. I'm just worried about the what sort of unusual noises.
Oh
we'll
no,
get.
that's
So
part of
I'll
the
try to-
ambiance.
I'll try to
Oh, yeah.
That's-
work with that as best as I can.
No, that's our show.
We have some
our
junior
ambiance.
aviators joining us on the show.
Yeah,
today.
right.
Yeah. So hey, I just noticed. Oh, John says, "Oh my gosh." Let me see. John, who's with us for the first time in the live audience, John Abrams. We have to play something here. Where is it?
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. He is suffering APG syndrome. Suffering from the syndrome. So, APG got it syndrome. Pretty bad. He's listened to close to 350 episodes so far in about 4 months. Oh my gosh.
He needs some go round a sill and booster shots.
He is seriously sick. I don't know if we can. You may be beyond what we can do
I
for
don't
you,
know.
but
Sorry,
we do
John.
have
We do
something.
have a resident doctor, but
We do have. Where's the go around to Cillin? Got to find it here. It's got to be somewhere here.
16 inches high.
No, that's not it.
That's not quite it.
Nope. That's not going to help you.
but Jeff does love
Well,
to
might.
play that every show.
I do. Here, let me do the sequence.
16 inches high.
Wow, that's a lot.
Very impressive.
I didn't even know
Where did Nick
Captain
C
Nick
go?
was with us. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Oh, here he comes. Here he's coming back.
Where did Nick see? What did you
There
do,
he's
man?
back. He's back.
And what a beautiful cock it is.
My camera's broken.
I prefer
And of course-
Seaman. Where's that one?
No, I prefer Siemens.
There you go.
I'm still trying to find the go around to Cillin. Where
You
is
mean
it?
the Miami Hick one? Isn't there a Miami?
Yeah. Okay, well, it's not in this rack. Nice rack. Thank you.
Oh, nice rack.
Just had it stuffed. No, wait, no, that's wrong.
No,
one.
that's
Nope. That was a record scratch. Oh, come on. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, I have a moth flying around. Great. Oh,
Oh, it was just.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
visible there
He
for a
was in
I
second.
camera
just saw
there.
something in my peripheral vision. I go, what? Is there something
At
flying
least it's
in
not
here?
a bat.
Probably that's the moth that's eating all my clothes.
Yeah, really. Got any wool stuff there? That's not good. You need a cedar chest or something.
Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's too cold back there. Let me turn it up.
Jeff forgot
Been a
to
while
turn-
since
Jeff forgot to
Go
turn
ahead.
up his thermostat before he got to the cabin today.
I have this, the new HVAC that they put in a couple months back came with a new Wi-Fi connected
enabled?
thermostat, an Ecobee, I think it's called, ECOBEE.
That must be so handy for you, Jeff.
It is really handy. So what
it?
you can do is like when you have it set for 45 degrees when you're on a trip and then you're driving back, I can use my phone and like bump it up to like 65 or whatever.
And how did that
something
work
comfortable.
for you today?
Well, it would work if I had remembered to do it. That I was just walking in the door. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that.
Can you make me enabled to be able to set that for you?
I probably could.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I should do that. Although I don't know, would you like mess around with it and like make it
No,
like
I
super
would never
cold?
do that.
Oh, okay.
Never do that.
Well, I'm sorry, I can't find the go around to Cillin. I don't know what happened. Wait, you know what I could do? I think I can do a search. We're kind of
Neil
we're
Landwarn.
wasting. Yeah.
The
What is
hospital's done wonders. Nick looks great.
Yeah, look at that. He looks a lot younger.
Years younger, but he's still got the beard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not as gray as it was before.
I guess he's been using
amazing.
like.
Apparently
what's that
Miami-
one?
Apparently, Miami Rick wasn't joking about how the time worked. age works in
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Benjamin
the
Button.
world.
yeah, the Benjamin Button thing.
Button.
Button.
Oh, perfect. Talk about now. Just talk about APG syndrome. Frank missed our banter. That's very sweet. Oops.
Well,
Jeff
we
just-
miss you.
just-
Okay,
yeah, we
and
did
bumpers
miss you,
go
Frank.
around a cylinder.
I wasn't lying
Okay,
though. I really
so
did. Just in the
bumpers.
last couple of weeks, I thought, God, we haven't seen Frank in a long time. I hope he's okay. I hope everything's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were really talking about you. Must have your ears must have been itching. Hey, here we go.
Why, hello there. My name
So,
is
John,
Miami Hick,
Here we
and
go.
I'm here to talk to you today about an embarrassing subject
It's
that
embarrassing.
no one likes to talk about, APG syndrome. Do you have a constant pain in your neck from always looking up at airplanes? Have you tried to grow your own Captain Jeff mustache? Do you think of Miami Rick every time you hear a cricket? Think of Captain Nick when you hear a frog croak. Think of Dana whenever you eat Boston baked beans.
Wow.
Do you think of Dr. Steph whenever you get stuck with a needle? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you are suffering from APG syndrome. Well, suffer no more. Introducing Go Around the Ceiling. With only 36 daily doses of an easy-to-swallow pill, you can be free of your symptoms with Go Around the Ceiling. Talk to your doctor today and find out if Go Around the Ceiling is right for you. Like all medicine, Go Around the Ceiling has side effects which include headache, nausea, vomiting, stomach bleeding, bleeding from the ears, nose, and eyes, uncontrolled diarrhea, stomach cramps, yellowing of the teeth, hair, and toenails, warts, hair loss, dry mouth, constipation, and stomach cramps.
It's double stomach cramps.
That's a classic,
So-
really. Yeah.
Micah, is Nick C still a lot louder than everybody else, or is he better?
I think he's good.
Yeah, I think it
Micah will
sounds
tell us.
good. Yeah.
Excuse me.
So yeah, I do apologize if you're listening to the air conditioning sound in the background. But as we were just mentioning, it's not quite 60. It's 59 degrees now, but it's up from 45. So it's getting there.
So frostbite is not setting in.
No, not yet. Although my hands are freezing.
Oh, Steffi's trying to finish up, and she should be on the road soon. So
Oh, good. Okay.
so you're not waiting
that
till she
obviously
gets home, are
that
you?
upset Nick C. That upset Nick C. When he heard that Stephanie was coming on the way.
Are you waiting for her to get home?
I should probably start.
Yeah.
Steph, it's okay if we start, right?
She said for me
Excuse
to
me.
start.
Okay.
Told me to start.
Well, then we'll start. So when Nick C comes back, let me start my recording. I'll wait till Nick comes back, and then we'll coordinate that. Okay, good. This whole job thing apparently gets in the way of things
I know.
for Dr. Steph.
Sucks.
Yeah.
I guess she,
So Nick, did you take care of whatever you needed to take care of as far as your job obligations?
Yep.
Good.
we don't want you getting fired.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't want you to
me
be
either.
fired. And Steph said she's. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and start my recording. If you want to do the same, Nick.
Okay.
There we go. And but I have pretty good internet here in the cabin, so it should be okay. So, yeah. And Steph is almost finished up with her long day in the office.
Well, the good thing is maybe the traffic's a little lighter now.
That's true.
Yeah.
Should be.
Aw, somebody's not happy.
And let's see.
I like it.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
is
Don't
that,
worry
Nick?
about that at all.
No, don't
Yeah.
worry.
Which
I love it.
Which child is that? What who are we hearing?
This is my younger one, Cade. I'm just gonna let him run around down here for a couple minutes before
Sure,
we're
yeah.
ready to start, and I'll
Burn off some energy.
ship him off. when we're ready to
Put him
get
in his
going
cage.
for real. Yeah, in his box, his AG box.
His box. Make sure you poke some air holes in that thing. Because I hear that the authorities kind of frown on suffocation in boxes. Not that I have any personal experience with that. I've just heard that that's a thing.
Yeah.
Oxygen deprivation, no.
Yeah. Let's see here. So I need to get the Evernote.
No, we'd have
Intro
to pay him
page
then,
up.
Micah. Forget it. We're not bringing Kate on. No paid guest shots.
Yeah. Well, I think by now everybody understands that we don't pay anybody on the show.
Yeah, one of Steph's jobs is to run payroll. It takes her like
She
no
doesn't
time
do
at
a
all.
very good job of it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We got Liz and Nixie and no Nick A. So I'm going to gray that out. That might help me, maybe. Maybe not. I'm going to gray out Rick. And then I'm going to make Steph's stuff a little bit darker so that when she joins us, I can hopefully find that. Probably not. Okay, just doing a sound check on Radio Roger just to check that again.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
Good?
It's a little hot. I would've
Still high?
said, but a little
Okay.
high.
All right. Now,
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
okay.
Okay, as far as I'm concerned.
That one always seems, the last show was a little bit too high, so I'm going to pop it
I
down
think we
a
should
little
play Wichita Lineman for Nixie.
bit. I don't even know what that is.
Glenn Campbell. Don't you know that song by Glenn Campbell?
That's an old country
Maybe.
song.
I am a lion.
Well,
Oh, no, maybe. No. Am I thinking
it's a little bit too late for that,
Yeah, well.
for this show. We'll figure out something in the future. We don't have to worry about.
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
No. Well, in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire, he's asleep. So.
Yeah. So Nick, you're in.
Big D, little A, double L, A, S.
No, you're not in Dallas.
That was very loud.
Yeah, I know.
Big D, little.
Ah, sorry.
Thanks, Frank. Yeah.
Big.
All
I
right.
love Glenn Campbell's voice. I think he had a great voice.
Yeah,
Great
he
great
did.
guitarist. He was a really good guitarist.
Okay, so we have that. We have that. And
I love Jimmy
I-
Webb too, Micah. I think he's great. He was a great songwriter.
I love Jimmy Webb too. He's cute. I have no idea who Jimmy Webb is.
Keep drinking, Jeff. Keep drinking.
Hey, anybody out there who's cute? Call me.
Oh, boy.
Call me. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Oh,
Hey,
he
today's
wrote.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to. I think I have that. I think I purchased that from on Amazon Prime. I need to watch that tonight. I think, and just drink a lot of beer.
Well, watch it once and then watch it again and then watch it again.
Yeah. Hang on. All right. Oh, hey, guess what I have?
Uh-oh. What? Oh. Meow.
But I'm not going to do that right now.
Oh. Meow.
Yeah. The velvet
And
kitty
is
cat.
that, hey, maybe that's what they're talking about on guard all the time.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah, I have to say, I really love you all out there who make meowing sounds on guard. Not cool. But
If you had to live with the meowing sounds on guard or Captain Dick on guard. Which would you prefer?
Oh, meowing sounds all day long.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not even a contest. Not even a contest. Okay, so are you all ready?
Already.
All right, Steph, if you're listening, just whenever you come in, you may join us, and we're going to have a great time. All right, here we go. So what time is it? 18:26.
Yes, sir.
Just let me double check, make sure that we do have a recording going. We do. Okay, here we go.
Go.
Take it away, Roger. Okay, lights, camera, action.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 508.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Lake Burton, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 2nd of February, 2022.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Put your light and it's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a new report finds that the South African Civil Aviation Authority disregarded its own regulations in the fatal crash of one of its Cessnas. A Chinese Airlines freighter plows into cargo containers while taxiing on a snowy apron at O'Hare. More news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 508 is ready for pushback.
Thank you. That was Radio Roger Stern, an award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins in
New York City.
All right, welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and your great feedback. Captain Jeff, I'm pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, GA. And joining us today from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Oops, what happened there?
No.
All right, let's try that again. No. I think my mouse cursor is not aligning correctly here. It's not mapping. Okay, here we go. And joining us today from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier, and aviation enthusiast. Thank you. Spreadsheet master and our producer-director is Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Great to see you, Liz. And also joining us today from his home studio in the air capital, low and slow pilot. It has nothing to do with altitude. It has everything to do with his brain capacity. Old airplane enthusiast and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Camacho.
Hey, Captain Jeff and Liz. Glad to be back with you guys.
Awesome that you're here with us again. And so right now, it's just the three of us. Well, the two of us on camera now. Liz has gone dark, but she's still in my ear. And oh, my goodness. I need to turn your volume down on clean feed. My goodness. Okay. Thank you, Liz. I hear you loud and clear. All right. We are going to hopefully have another one of our hosts joining us at some point soon, Dr. Steph. But Captain Nick, we are happy to say, we talked about it in the last episode, he was having an issue with his heart, and he was in hospital, and we're happy to say now that he is out of hospital and recovering at home. And so we're so happy to hear that. And thank you all out there for all of your thoughts and prayers and well wishes for Captain Nick. And just wanted to let you know, Nick, if you're listening to this, 2 weeks off, that's it. That's as much as we're going to allow. So hopefully we'll have him back with us next week. And, of course, another installment of his awesome Old Pilot's Plain Tales. So anyway, Godspeed and get well soon, Nick. with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to some aviation news.
Stand by for news.
Okay, now we're taking a tech pause because I have not yet loaded up the video for this news item, and that's crucial.
That is crucial.
Covering this. You gotta see this. This is, I'm sure. Okay, thanks, Liz. Liz is back. You'll be happy to know. So I'm on a tech pause just for a moment. It should only be a few seconds, Liz. I'm having to load up. I didn't have the video loaded for this first news item. I realized it when we were in the middle of Radio Rogers' intro. I went, oh, shoot. I don't think I have time to do this. It's crucial. So video file and videos. And here we go. Open. Okay. So we start off by... Okay, we're going to start off today's show with a whopper. There was a China Airlines 747-400 cargo jet that had landed at Chicago O'Hare in not VFR weather, in a kind of snowy, blizzardy kind of weather, low visibility, that kind of thing. And let's take a look at some video that was captured of it arriving at the cargo ramp. Okay, here we go. Yeah, here we go. It's really kind of going at quite a quick pace, I'd say. And oh, shoot. The number one, the far left engine is collecting baggage carts and all kinds of stuff. And here is... Yeah, he was getting out of the way. Truck driver there. So now we're looking at some video of the aftermath. And, that number two engine looks like it took almost as much of a beating as the number one. There's the far left number one engine. Lots of damage with that thing. That's the thing that ate at least two of those baggage carts and spit them out. And I don't know what this is. Oh, that's something to do with this video. Anyway, let's watch this again. What do you think? I think it's worth watching again.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to note is as it kind of passes through that first row of carts, then it just starts turning that second row of carts into. It almost reminded me of like when somebody has a down pillow and they puff it open and you see all the feathers come out the backside.
The feathers flying.
The engine eats one of those carts like it's a pillow and shoots a bunch of junk out the back.
I agree. That's a good analogy. Here, let's watch it again. But I was kind of impressed with how quickly or how fast this thing is going in these conditions.
Here it
Look
comes,
at that.
right here.
Boom. Ooh, that's the
and
first
you see
one.
it roll up. It like rolled over the front of the cowling into the engine.
Yeah. That is not pretty. So normal speed. Liz was saying that she thought it was like sped up video, but if you look at the clock and the thing, it's like normal speed. Anyway, I think I was reading a comment that said that they apparently had lined up with the left edge lights of the taxiway, not, I guess, thinking that was the center line of the taxiway. But here's my question to all of you big jet drivers out there, or really any pilots. If you're flying along or taxiing along, and you're looking out your window, and you see something that looks like it's kind of close to your wing or your outboard engine, you should probably notice that and like slow down and maybe stop until you figure out, what's going on with that. But apparently the captain either wasn't looking out the window or didn't have that depth perception thing going on. Oh, that's true. Liz could be an ex Southwest Airlines pilot, and he likes to taxi quickly. I don't know. I just I find it hard to see any excuse. I mean, if the visibility was really, really bad, then why are you taxiing so darn fast? That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's what, when I first saw that video, I almost thought it was a fake video because the airplane was moving so fast and didn't seem to have any regard for the baggage carts. Like you said, it's not like he barely hit one with the wingtip.
No,
I mean, those baggage carts were 50 feet or whatever into the wing, far enough, like you said, to hit the number 2 engine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also kind of alluded to it. If you watch the video at the right as he's coming to a stop, there's like a little tug man up there who just gets out of the way in the nick of time. And it almost reminded me of a cartoon watching that guy just avert disaster.
Yeah, crazy. And that's all we know about this. Here's the slide on the video here of the routing. They landed to the west, it appears, and they taxied on the parallel on the north side of the runway and then crossed the runway, came back in. Probably the normal routing that you would take to get to the cargo area, probably the south cargo area, they'd probably call that. John Jester is an expert, very experienced cargo pilot, and he said that was scary fast. We have very little weight on the nose, and steering in snow is challenging. Just did it last night, and it wasn't fun. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, John. I'm thinking for those conditions. Yeah, well, John, Liz is saying that it's good that you didn't make the news. Yeah, no paperwork. Anyway, here's another picture that we have a still of the damage to the left main landing gear truck and gear doors. And there's the is that the number 2 or number 1? That must be the number 2. Yeah, engine with a lot of damage.
Yep,
and there's
that's number 2.
Number 2. Yeah, look at that. The carts are still kind of connected to it. I think that's the number 1. Yeah, it's a mess. I'm not sure that we're going to learn much more from this, but wow, that's something else. Okay, so that is our first news item. That's all we know about it. Go ahead.
I was going to say one other thing. I got curious because somebody in one of the comments that I read online asked what what the impact of this would be or the cost of it would be. And so I Googled it, and everything that I saw said that 747 engines cost about $10 million. So if you think about the number 1, for sure, number 1 engine would have to come off because it ingested a couple of carts. I don't know if the number 2 engine, if anything actually went through it, or that's just a lot of nacelle damage. But man, that's a pretty steep hit for a what seems like kind of a mindless error.
Yeah, and that's going to really cut into the profit margin, I would imagine, for 2022.
Yeah.
Liz says, for those of you waiting for packages coming in from China, they may not get to you right away. There might be a little bit of a delay. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that was an interesting one. Let's jump to item number 2. And this is from paddleyourown.canoe.com. Yeah, it's a blog, and the headline of this is: a Boeing Dreamliner made an emergency diversion to Hong Kong, but the crew were stuck on board because of pandemic rules. The pilots of an Air New Zealand operated Boeing 787 Dreamliner were forced to make an emergency diversion to Hong Kong after the cockpit windscreen cracked. But once on the ground, local officials barred the crew members from getting off the plane because of pandemic fears. The president of the New Zealand Airline Pilots Association said the flight crew were stuck on board the stricken aircraft for hours, had to remain on board the plane until a, quote, suitable extraction opportunity was presented. The Dreamliner was, it almost sounds like a, special forces extraction or something.
Yeah.
or your tooth being pulled. The Dreamliner was being operated as a cargo-only service and was heading to Guangzhou on the Chinese mainland, loaded with perishable items fresh from New Zealand, such as cherries, stone fruit, seafood, and live sheep. No, I added that. I don't think they had that on there. I guess they were bringing in stuff for the upcoming Lunar New Year celebrations. And the unexpected arrival of an aircraft and its crew into Hong Kong presented some serious challenges with how the crew were subsequently handled. The Hong Kong authorities refused to process the crew, which left them in a position of having to remain on the aircraft until a suitable extraction opportunity was presented. Under Hong Kong's tough pandemic control measures, all arrivals by air must have tested negative for COVID-19 within 48 hours of departure. There are no exceptions made for emergency diversions, even though arriving aircrew are required to take a test as soon as they enter the airport terminal. Although I don't think they were allowed to enter the airport terminal, were they? The Hong Kong authorities do not accept rapid antigen testing, so the pilots wouldn't have been able to quickly prove they were not infectious by taking a rapid test once they landed. And again, this is the New Zealand Airline Pilots Association representative saying it's concerning that the crew had no ability to rest in Hong Kong after an already arduous 12-hour duty. They were not able to enter the country. Air New Zealand's pilots are regularly tested for COVID-19, and there have been no reported cases of infection amongst the pilot workforce for the entire length of the pandemic. That's pretty impressive, actually. So nobody on the pilot workforce at Air New Zealand has been infected. The plane remains on the ground in Hong Kong following Thursday's diversion, while it awaits a replacement windscreen, which is being delivered from Singapore. The 24 tons of cargo was successfully transported to Guangzhou with the help of a partner airline. That must have been fun. I guess, it's better than sleeping under an underpass or something, an overpass. But still, long day.
I was a little surprised because, if you look at it, New Zealand also has one of the more restrictive travel policies in terms of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So, it seems like they would be, in my mind, somebody coming from New Zealand would maybe be a little more accepted than, say, someone coming from the United States, where we have very limited restrictions based on
Cowboys.
COVID. Yeah. COVID Cowboys. But, the other thing I thought about was you think about how, at least in the United States, they really try to shape all their policies and regulations to kind of protect the pilot and give the pilot the best opportunity to manage an emergency. When you look at how our judicial system handles pilot incidents and emergencies and stuff like that, and this really seems like it kind of goes against that goes against that mindset in that,
mm-hmm.
The next guys, if there's another flight flying in that area who have a emergency or a situation, are they going to make a good decision based on the safety of the flight? Or is it going to be kind of in the back of their mind, like, oh, we could be in for, 2 days of miserable conditions or something, and maybe this issue that we have isn't really as bad as we think it is, was the first thing I thought about. And then the second
mm-hmm.
thing I thought about is, I wonder how they would manage a medical emergency. If there's a medical emergency on like a passenger carrying flight
mm-hmm.
that had to divert into there, seems like they don't have maybe a good procedure
protocol
to manage that. So,
right. Yeah. I would hope that the medical emergency and the treatment of the sick passenger would, take priority over the COVID thing. And you have to understand that these were just freight dogs, so who cares? No, I'm just
bottom rung of the ladder type of pilots.
Sorry, John. I'm joking. We love our cargo pilots out there. In fact, in a lot of ways, us passenger flying pilots are envious that you guys don't have to worry about all the all the walking cargo that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's move on then to our next item. And this is kind of a doozy. This is from the, again, paddle your own canoe. British Airways plane has door ripped off in a Jetbridge mishap in Cape Town. And Liz is showing us one of the photos that we have on our slide show. A door, a very large door from a 777-200 jet got ripped off while it was preparing for departure in Cape Town on Wednesday evening. The aircraft was parked at the terminal and connected to a jet bridge with the cabin door open when a tug driver allegedly started to push the plane back. Not good. Photos of the aircraft shared on Twitter show the door propped up inside the jet bridge after being ripped clean off the plane. The plane was due to operate British Airways Flight 42 back to London Heathrow, but the flight has unsurprisingly been canceled. Yeah, they were going to find it hard to
keep it below 10,000 feet because we're not going to be able to pressurize.
Yeah. You're right, Liz. Sorry, I don't know. I didn't even notice that when I was doing those slides. That you're right. That is an Emirates airplane, but the British Air, maybe that was another. That was probably another incident that we had talked about.
I think it says in the bottom of that news article that there was a. Let's see. Oh, maybe I guess not. They mentioned a Lufthansa and another Virgin Airbus that had that issue.
I think we did talk about the Emirates one on a previous show.
Yeah, I guess there it is. In August 2020, an Emirates 777-300 was badly damaged.
Yeah. So that was, I guess, just for a little bit more of Jetbridge ripping off.
Mayhem.
Yeah, Jetbridge Mayhem. Anyway, the plane was due to operate British Airways Flight 42 back to London, but unsurprisingly has been canceled, and specialized repair work will be required to get the plane airworthy again. Yeah, it would have been tough to pressurize the airplane without that big door. Yeah. Those jetways are definitely pretty robust to be able to tear a door off like that when you're pushing the airplane back.
And, I guess they're fortunate, or maybe it's a well-designed hinge system, but, if that door were to get caught in that jet bridge and kind of bend that door frame, it'd cause an even bigger issue. So I guess, and on one hand, they're fortunate that door just broke clean off, maybe, so they can just bolt another one on and go.
Looks like that opening doesn't really have any damage at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty beefy construction. Those 777s are tanks. Okay. Next item is an update on that full shear airplane. Let's see, it was a Caravan that didn't see a paraglider in Texas, in the Houston area. And it's a preliminary report from the NTSB reveals that the cargo carrying Cessna did not see at all and was not aware of the paraglider, which I think we already kind of talked about before, but this is now official. The paraglider did not have a transponder or an automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, an ADSB system on it, and nor are they required to. And the airspace that the paraglider was flying in, they were perfectly legal to be flying in, and that's just one of those things where see and avoid is prevalent, or should be. And if you're operating single pilot in a big single engine airplane like that Caravan, and you have a lot of things going on, and you can't always devote complete attention to just staring out the front windshield. There's a lot of things going on inside that cockpit, and apparently he never saw the paraglider and ended up hitting the paraglider with the right wing. And John's making a good comment. Former PPGer, you will not see a paraglider outside of a mile. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You know, a lot of times people look at those caravans, and that's like a slower moving airplane that would be coming out of a Class Bravo airspace, but you know, they're still moving 180 knots or 200 knots or whatever they're doing. And when you think about the profile or silhouette of a paraglider, it's not very big to begin with. And then, you know, if they're below the horizon, and you're kind of looking down at them, or right on the horizon where there's a lot of junk, and you're not going to have a real clear background, it would be pretty difficult to be able to differentiate it from, say, a bunch of houses or a piece of playground equipment on a school or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So so how do we avoid these? You know, we always say, well, see and avoid, you know, VFR, VMC, see and avoid, but we all know that is somewhat flawed. You know, you can't always see everything until you're right up on it.
Yeah.
And including drones and everything else out there. I mean, I'm thinking that, you know, perhaps if the rules were changed to at least have some kind of a device that a paraglider might be able to, I know they are probably weight sensitive on those types of airplanes or, you know, flying machines.
Yeah. And even, you know, even like the Luscombe that I fly, it was not certified with an electrical system, does not have an electrical system. So it is wavered into more airspaces than a normal airplane. You know, I still can't go into Class B or Class C airspace, but there is a Mode C veil. If anyone's familiar with airspaces, there's a Mode C veil, and because this Luscombe has never had an electrical system, we're actually exempted from the Mode C and ADSB requirements to go into that airspace, and so it's a little less restrictive. But at the end of the day, you still have to resort to see and avoid. And like you said, it's all of these things when you're flying are kind of weight sensitive. And in the case of the Luscombe, some guys have put transponders in their airplanes and had battery powered transponders. But the problem, the problem you get into there is there are rules where you're not supposed to turn off a transponder, and same with ADSB, you're not supposed to be turning on and off transponders in ADSB. So then you get into the situation where, I'm going to add a transponder. It's not that much weight. It's a couple pounds. But then to get it to run all the time, you've got to add an alternator and a battery. And now you're adding
a lot of
15 or 20 pounds to an airplane that only has maybe a 400-pound useful load. So it's a significant threshold. And then you get into, where do you want to set the threshold for performance, right? Like, as you get lighter and cheaper and more prevalent with all these devices, you're probably going to lose some performance. And I know Dr. Steph mentioned, putting ADSB on last time she said, can we put it on paragliders or paramotors? And you talk about going down to kind of the minimum, the least common denominator, and it ends up being like a skydiver or a small drone. And I think the technology will get to a point where you can have that device on anything that's in the air, but are you going to require it to be tested every 2 years like a current Mode C transponder is? Are you going to require it to meet the performance requirements that ADSB is currently held to? So I think there are a lot of questions there, and to answer.
Yeah, that's a big limitation, isn't it? All the testing and certification requirements and currency and that type of thing. I'm thinking, would a Stratus type device that has some kind of a portable battery, that's only ADSB in though, isn't it? It's not an ADSB out.
Right.
You really need ADSB out so that other airplanes can see you.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the ADSB out devices that are available now, there's a device called a GDL82 that is not much bigger than the size of an iPhone. It's about 3 or 4 times as thick as an iPhone, but it's not a large instrument. There's a company called UAvionics makes a tail beacon and a wing beacon that basically takes the place of the small nav light strobe light combo. So that's another, maybe the size of 2 golf balls. So I think the size is getting down into that area where where it makes sense. But then you talk about adding a battery, the certification of moving it around in an airplane. It's very easy to limit a device to being certified on a wingtip or on a tail. But when you start talking about, a handheld device, will it work the same if it's in your pocket or if it's in a backpack you're wearing on a paraglider, or if it's clipped to your chest when you're, in one of these smaller vehicles? It opens up the certification field for it. It makes it a lot more challenging to ensure that you get the appropriate performance. And, one of the concerns when ADSB coming out, one of the lesser commented on concerns was, are people going to start becoming over reliant on it? Are people going to, and obviously I don't know what happened in this scenario, but are people who used to be more conscious of see and avoid now just going to be in the cockpit all the time because they have this screen that supposedly shows them everything that's out there, so they don't need to worry about seeing and avoid? So that's also an aspect of it.
Probably not a great thing either, because even if everybody out there is supposed to, if we get to the point where everything out there that's flying has to have some kind of a beacon so that others can see them, what happens when it stops working? You still have to, look outside and see and avoid. I think it was Neil that was saying, is there a hierarchy in the air as a paraglider or paramotor? Do you have the maneuverability to get out of the way? Not really. No, you have very limited vulnerability. And as John says, you can spiral to increase visibility and descend, but they are very slow.
And there are hierarchies like...
I guess the less maneuverable has the hierarchy, as has the right of way, correct?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, with like a powered paraglider, I guess I don't know where it falls into it, but gliders have right of way over powered vehicles, and hot air balloons have right of way over powered vehicles because they both have clear limitations. But I guess with a paramotor, you are still powered and you are still capable of maneuvering. So I actually don't know where it falls in the hierarchy.
Yeah, I don't either. Anyway, just, this just kind of, makes the point that you just always have to be, as much as you can, looking outside and clearing if you're not in the clouds, just to hopefully, see something and be able to avoid it. And, this is, 2 lives lost, both in the Caravan and in the paraglider. And it, nobody was doing anything wrong, really. I mean, they were perfectly legal, at least.
And, that also goes back, we talked last time, I think, with Miami Rick, about the possibility of going, down to single pilot operations and some cargo. And it's always a question of if we're going to get to single pilot or no pilot operations. And this is another good example of why, even if you have all the automation in the world in this airplane, you still need to be able to operate it and do that see and avoid. And it gets very challenging in these flight regimes where you're in the cockpit a lot, like getting the airplane set up to land, or transitioning from takeoff to climb, or things like that, where you've got one pilot doing a lot of stuff in the airplane and you're traveling at 250 knots or 300 knots. It's awfully nice to have another guy sitting there, not only cross-checking you on the checklist, but being able to focus on outside the airplane.
Right. All right. Oh, Neil says the right of goes to the guy with the biggest guns, so the A-10 wins. Okay. Well, Neil, I don't know if you've been paying attention here, but I don't think an A-10 was involved in this. But the point is well taken, Neil, for sure. Yeah, when it comes. Okay, Liz. She said we need to talk more about this stuff. Yeah, we're just like knocking this stuff out too quickly. Hey, you know what? That's okay, Liz. If we have a short, I think kind of a treat for our listeners. Yeah. And a treat for me, who has to do all the editing. So I say, let's make it an hour-long show, and then we'll be finished in the can. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get Steph on before we end the show. Okay, let's move on to this next item, which is from the Aviation Herald, my favorite news source for aviation incidents and accidents. Let's see, a JetBlue Airbus A320-200 registration November 760 Juliet Bravo, performing flight 1748 from Hayden, Colorado to Fort Lauderdale, was departing Hayden's runway 10 when the aircraft's tail contacted the runway surface. The aircraft continued a normal departure and climbed to flight level 310 when Denver Center forwarded a message to the crew stating that they had a tail strike on the departure runway. The crew subsequently decided to divert to Denver, where the aircraft landed on runway 35 right without further incident about 45 minutes after departure from Hayden. There were no injuries. The aircraft sustained substantial damage, however, and the FAA reported the aircraft incurred a tail strike on departure, Hayden, Colorado. Stated the damage was unknown, rated the occurrence an incident, later correcting it to an accident, probably because of the extent of the damage and the cost of repair. We're showing a picture from that tail strike on the tail end of that JetBlue, and scraped it up pretty good. I kind of find it hard to believe that somebody sitting in the back, like one of the flight attendants, didn't hear that probably very loud sound when the tail hit the runway, and I can't imagine that a flight attendant hearing that wouldn't immediately call the cockpit and tell them that, hey, I think you hit something or something doesn't sound right here.
Well, it did say later in the article, passengers reported the tail strike was clearly felt and heard upon rotation for takeoff. And I would think, I guess if you only have flight attendants sitting up front, maybe they wouldn't have noticed it. But
they got to have one in the back, at least one.
Yeah,
maybe two.
It would be hard for me to believe that a passenger would notice something that a flight attendant wouldn't notice, first of all. And then I would have thought the passengers would have said something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If it was heard by 3 or 4 people, I would assume that at least one of them are safety conscious or flight weary and would make a comment. Because you didn't say it, but the thing that I thought was, the concern about the pressure bulkheads and the pressure vessel, and as they climb up to altitude and try to start pressurizing the airplane, what sort of impacts that tail strike had on the structure.
Yeah, that's the critical risk when you have a tail strike is that whole pressure issue, the pressure bulkhead in the back. So the reason why this happened, according to the FAA, ASDI data, radar tracking data, Beech 350, registration November 350 Juliet, arriving from Fort Smith, Arkansas, was on approach to Hayden's runway 28 at the time of the accident and touched down at 11:58, about 100 seconds after departure of the A320. At the time of the A320 becoming airborne, the Beech 350 was 2.85 nautical miles, so within 3 miles of the runway 28 threshold, descending through 900 feet above ground level. At the time, the B350, which is isn't that a King Air 350?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it's the biggest
touchdown.
King Air.
The A320 was climbing through 8,800 feet MSL, about 2.2 nautical miles past the runway 10 end, which is the runway 28 threshold, in a slight right-hand turn about 0.4 nautical miles off the extended runway centerline. Hayden's Yampa Valley Airport features a runway 1028 of 3,048 meters or 10,000 feet long at an elevation of 6,600 feet MSL. They do not have a control tower, so you have to use, it says a Unicom frequency is published for the airport, but I would imagine maybe that's what he's saying is a CTAF, a Common Traffic Advisory Frequency. So this is one of those cases where you have to, from the moment your airplane starts moving, when you're pushing back, when you're taxiing out to the runway, you're monitoring this Common Traffic Advisory Frequency for other aircraft in the area who are also hopefully making radio calls, alerting folks of where they are in relation to the airport. And this is the way, without a dedicated control tower and air traffic controllers, that you kind of manage these situations, which is, not uncommon. There are probably more airports in our country, probably way more airports in our country
definitely,
that have no control towers as opposed to the ones that have, manned, air traffic controllers and control towers. So you have to communicate and let everybody know what's going on. I have a feeling that in this case, perhaps maybe because of the duties, the flight deck duties going on with the A320, maybe they weren't really listening to what was happening as far as airplanes coming into the. And I think Hayden is one of those. I have not flown there myself. It might be one of those airports where it's like a one-way in and one-way out kind of a deal because of all the high terrain.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like.
Okay.
I'm unfamiliar with that airport, and I actually wasn't familiar with another destination in Colorado that would be taking Airbuses. But when I went and looked at it, it looks like it's the feeder airport for Steamboat Springs. So it's kind of a resort, type of destination. But yeah. You mentioned that there are a lot more airports in our country that don't have control towers than do have control towers. But I would say it is fairly rare that a scheduled carrier is flying something as big as a A320 into those airports. A lot of times you'll see like CRJ 200s maybe flying into those small airports without control towers. But I was a little surprised to see an airplane that big flying into an uncontrolled
Nick,
airport.
This is something that I just noticed. They have METARs listed for the time before and after this incident, and the one that's highlighted, actually in bold print, is the one I think that was current at the time of this incident. And I'm really concerned about this one because it said the winds are calm, no problem, 9 statute miles of visibility. The ceiling overcast 500
feet.
This is instrument meteorological conditions.
Yeah.
So it would seem to me that if this is IMC and they're flying, both airplanes are on instrument flight plans, how is it that the air traffic control didn't restrict the incoming airplane from landing until the JetBlue had taken off? Or conversely, how is it that the JetBlue airplane was allowed, a release from the airport when this King Air 350 was an approach? So something doesn't make sense here to me.
Yeah.
If it was VFR, I could see it.
Right.
But not in these weather conditions.
But, even if it was VFR operations, I would assume that the Airbus for sure would be departing on an IFR departure, even if it's VFR VMC. And I would assume something as big as a King Air is more than likely flying on an instrument flight plan. So I would think that, ATC would have much more input in the separation here than just a standard uncontrolled airport.
Yeah.
That is weird.
I think there's probably more to this than what we're seeing here in this report. John Abrams says, I live in Colorado and I've never heard of Hayden. But you've heard of Steamboat Springs, right, John? It's one of the mountain ski resort areas. I think Hayden is a kind of a seasonal scheduled airline service this time of year.
Yeah. 100
Liz
seconds
say,
is not very much time between those
that's
airplanes.
what,
That's
under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Liz was saying, well, maybe they just wanted to get the JetBlue flight just wanted to get out of there and get to the warmer weather in Florida.
It could be.
It blew off all the safety. I don't know. I just, it's got to be something more to this than, something doesn't smell right about this.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll keep our ears and eyes peeled and hopefully have some kind of an update to this incident that precipitated the tail strike. Yep. And I don't know. Very, very curious. Okay. Excuse me. My basement IPA from Scofflaw Brewing Company is trying to get out. I've drunk some of it, but it's not happy being in my gullet, apparently. This next item is a final report. It was an accident in South Africa. And I don't think we ever covered this when it first occurred. This is something new to me when I was reading over it yesterday. Let's see, a Cessna Citation 550, Citation S2, Zulu Sierra Charlie Alpha Romeo in Frimersheim, South Africa. And apparently this is an airplane that was owned by and operated by the South African Civil Aviation Authority. And it was one of those types of airplanes that go out there and do instrument calibration flights. This airplane crashed into the Otanika Mountains near the town of Frimersheim. The 3 occupants were killed, and the aircraft was destroyed. The Citation departed Port Elizabeth Airport on a positioning flight to George Airport. On approach to Foxtrot Alpha Golf Golf, the flying crew requested to carry out a calibration flight for the Very High Frequency Omnidirectional Range, or VOR, beacon at Foxtrot Alpha Golf Golf. I want to say FAG, but that's probably not appropriate. So Foxtrot Alpha Golf Golf. Due to inclement weather conditions at the time, they were not cleared to conduct VOR calibration. As a result, they decided to land and refuel the aircraft before commencing with the calibration of the instrument landing system on runway 11. The flying crew requested takeoff from runway 11 and an early right turn to intercept radial 250, 17 nautical miles DME arc to radial 330 at 3,000 feet, climbing to 4,000 feet. The air traffic control ATC granted their request. Radar data indicated that at 10:42 the aircraft took off from runway 11. Once airborne, made a right turn to intercept radial 250 using the George VOR. The aircraft climbed to 3,000 feet. Once the aircraft reached the 17 nautical mile DME arc, it commenced with a right turn to intercept radial 330 while maintaining the arc. At 10:46, the ATC advised the flying crew they were now exiting controlled airspace and were advised to broadcast on the special rules frequency. The crew acknowledged the advisory to change frequency, and there was no further communication. The aircraft was still being monitored by ATC using secondary surveillance radar. At 10:50, radar data showed the aircraft crossing radial 310, entered a climb from 3,000, reaching 3,900 feet. As the aircraft leveled off at 3,900 feet, a rapid descent occurred. The aircraft lost 1,500 feet in approximately 9 seconds, and I did the math for us. That's about 10,000 feet per minute. That's pretty significant. 3 seconds prior to impact, the aircraft nose pitched up before impacting a ridge at 2,192 feet. And they came up with the probable cause. The crew lost control of the aircraft, which resulted in significant loss of altitude. As they attempted to recover, they collided with the mountain. There was significant cloud coverage below 1,500 feet above ground level at the time of the accident, as observed in the METARs. Mountaintops were obscured, as evidenced by some footage of a webcam. The aircraft route, which is 17 nautical mile, the 17 nautical mile arc, passes over the obscured mountains. From the limited flight data recorder reading, the aircraft attitude drastically changed into an unusual attitude when approaching the mountainous area. This indicates that most probably the pilot entered into an unusual attitude during transition from VFR to IFR flight without preparation. Not sure what that means. The accident flight plan was VFR. In other words, maybe that was a surprise to them. They thought they were going to be flying VFR, perhaps, and they ended up encountering IFR. But I would imagine with pilots this experienced and flying for the controlling, or not controlling, but the regulatory agency of South Africa would be pretty versed at flying in instrument meteorological conditions, flying IFR.
Yeah, you'd think so. You'd hope so.
Yeah. And apparently there's a couple, Liz included, 3 articles here?
Mm-hmm.
The second one, Liz, is just like very confusing to me. I guess there is some kind of a political thing going on, and people are kind of unhappy with the report from the South African Civil Aviation Authority.
Well, the second one points has a couple of pretty pointed comments towards the SACAA.
Mm-hmm.
It mentions the most serious of the finding against the authority was that the aircraft was not maintained in accordance with the requirements of annual inspections. The certificate of airworthiness was thus rendered invalid. It goes on to talk about one of the aircraft's engines was replaced, a procedure that requires a full inspection by the SACAA's Flight Inspection Unit. However, the inspection did not take place. The SACAA had grounded aircraft from South African Airways and other airline operators for similar contraventions. So it sounds like maybe there's some consternation about the fact that they are not holding themselves to the same level of performance that they hold
others to.
Yeah, the
that
people that look to them
regulate.
for regulation for. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a in this last article, I believe it's the last one, and I kind of highlighted this. One of the, I'm not sure who this was one of the investigators or not, or maybe a family member of one of the pilots that were killed. Lakalaka? Not sure how you pronounce that. Said, here's a quote here: "The pilot is an operator. If the aircraft malfunctions, there's absolutely nothing he can do about it, especially when you're in the sky." I thought, now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That must have been taken out of context or something, because, we're trained to handle malfunctions of an aircraft, and there is a lot that we can do about it.
Yep.
That's why that's why we get paid what we get paid, because we are expected to be able to handle emergency situations or abnormal situations, and get the airplane on the ground safely. So yeah. I thought that was an unusual kind of quote.
Yeah, and I was a little surprised just with the. I don't know what sort of equipment they had on this airplane. I assume they have some more modern stuff in addition to VORs, but I was a little surprised that they were out doing any sort of calibration work in anything other than VFR, like total VMC conditions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little unusual, and then the fact that they reference the incapability of the crew to recover from an unusual attitude that was driven by basically VFR into IMC.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one where you would hope that a jet operator would have the capability to do that, and then the fact that there were not only 2 but 3 people on this airplane.
Yeah,
it's a little unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so this is an odd one. As I said, we hadn't talked about this on previous episodes, so I wasn't even aware of this crash at all. But it is kind of unusual that, as we've mentioned before, that the regulatory agency that operates this airplane didn't hold itself to the same standards and requirements of others that they regulate. So kind of damning for sure. All right. Anything else to add that we missed? No? All right. Well, I think now we'll just keep on moving on. So let's do the Getting to Know Us segment. Getting to like Steph, getting to hope Steph likes us. Singing.
I don't.
Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Well, I didn't see that. I'm sorry, Liz. Hello, Steph.
Hi.
Nice that you joined us. How
I'm
you
glad I
doing?
finally made it. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm tired,
good.
but I'm excited.
I bet.
'Cause
Yeah.
this is
What have
fun.
you been up to?
Work.
Work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to say it's
Okay.
been exciting stuff to report, but nope. Work.
Okay.
Work.
So you may have, I would imagine that you've been listening at least to some of the items that we've covered so
I
far.
heard the last 3 minutes.
Okay. Oh, well, not much then.
No.
Okay. So I'm not going to ask you if you have any input regarding.
I'm sorry, I don't. No, I was trying to further multitask on my drive home and had to make a couple of phone calls, so I did not get to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did not realize that you had already started until Liz announced that you were half hour into the show already. I went, oh,
Yeah.
I should hurry and get home, but I was trying.
Yeah. We thought about waiting, and then we thought, nah.
No, I'm
let's go ahead
glad.
and
I'm
start.
glad you didn't. That makes for a very late night for everybody, and that's unnecessary. So thank you for getting started without me.
Right. Yeah. We just
Seriously.
we didn't actually warn anybody, in enough time that we were going to perhaps
it's
delay the show a bit.
All good.
But anyway, so glad that you were able to join us. Sorry that you're so busy with the work.
Me too.
thing.
Just one of those days where everything kind of lines up the wrong way.
Yeah.
Scheduling snafus, things that got rescheduled incorrectly, and then things that require extra time and attention that you didn't anticipate. Oh, my microphone is hot.
No,
Sorry,
you're fine.
my head.
I adjusted your volume, so you're sounding great now.
Yeah, I haven't touched anything, and the cleaners have actually, no, they have not been here. But
Yeah.
I would like to thank our new production assistant for clearing my driveway and having my audio hijack updated and the computer turned on when I got here. That did make
Yeah,
a
the one
more
that has the
seamless
6-pack
transmission.
abs.
Yeah, I think he's working on my
He's a
hot tub right now
hot-looking
too.
So you're probably wanting us to go ahead.
I'm not sure how
wrap
much you're
this
paying
thing up.
how much you're paying this guy, but it's worth it. Just wanna let you
More
know.
than I'm paying you all.
Oh, I figured. I'm not surprised. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Well, that's the payment from me. Your little treat.
Thanks.
Anyway, as I said, good to see you. And as you said, you've been just mostly working, and that's about it, huh?
Yeah, I know we're doing the getting to know us. Kind of for the second week in a row, it was a low key weekend. I don't have anything really to add. There wasn't any flying. It was more really cold, kind of no more snow or nasty, inclement winter-like weather here, but just really chilly the past weekend. And still had some more family things to take care of. So that's primarily what has been happening.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Nick, how about yourself? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I got to fly a little bit this weekend. Had unseasonably nice weather on Saturday and Sunday. And so got to fly the Luscombe a little bit right at sunset, which was a nice flight. And
Nice.
now we are paying for that with a winter storm that came through and gave us 6 inches of snow today.
Ooh.
That's kind of how it goes, isn't it? It's like
yeah.
this tease of like, oh, it's almost going to feel like spring, and then right back to winter. I think the groundhog saw his shadow today, so 6 more weeks
6
of winter
more
for all of
weeks.
us.
Yep.
Yay.
That's what they
I
said.
tell you what I think about you, Punxsutawney Phil. Go right back into your burrow there.
Wait a minute, Liz, are you saying that do you have a groundhog up there that gives you the forecast for your winter, or?
Oh, the Canadian groundhog is different?
Yes,
Canadian groundhog?
we have an albino groundhog called Wyerton Willie, and Willie is saying an early spring up here. So there you
good
go.
for
Flat
you.
figures.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy our early spring.
Yeah,
There you go.
she's sending all her crappy winter weather down to
Exactly.
us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. That's funny. All right. Yeah, continue, sir.
So that's about it. I got all the electrical gremlins that I discussed on the last show sorted out in my airplane. So
Excellent.
That's exciting.
yeah, so I could be on the brink of flying it if I didn't have to dig it out of the hangar. So
Put some skis on it. No problem,
it'll be
right?
pushed back. Yeah.
Grab your snowmobile, tow it out, or tug it out. I think that's how it works, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm interested in what Nick makes on his 3D printer. I use that for a combination of prototyping parts for my day job and making little toys for my boys. So.
Oh, cool. That's the most important.
Yeah. Yep. And I made a few parts for my airplane on there. So.
And you probably make little toys for yourself too, I bet. That he's
From
not
time
going
to time.
to admit to.
Yep. So that's about it for me.
Okay. Let's see. When did we record last? I was I was in South Dakota on my little
Friday.
personal trip. And then I got home on Saturday, sang Saturday afternoon, and then, I didn't do that. I got home Saturday night, and then I sang on Sunday, and then I headed up to the cabin to change out the dirty clothes for new, clean ones, and got the uniform, reset, and left quite early Monday morning from the cabin because it was a 7:25 report time, so it's a couple of hour drive from the cabin down to the Atlanta International Airport. But I got a chance to fly with my one of my favorite first officers, Brent.
Yay!
Yeah.
Barbecue?
And well,
No.
So we were in Myrtle Beach on the first night, and we had tried
Do y'all stay
barbecue.
relatively close to the airport, or are you more like in the?
It's more known
beach
like
area?
down
by
in the beach area.
Yeah. Okay.
We tried Sweet Carolinas like sometime last year. Weren't impressed, so we didn't do that again. So we ended up eating non-barbecue in Myrtle Beach.
Right by the airport there's a Tupelo honey and some other stuff that's actually pretty decent.
That sounds good, but
Yeah.
no, we're not there. We're not at the airport. And then we were. This is a South Carolina trip for me, Steph. Myrtle Beach, and then Columbia last night, and we ate at a little barbecue buffet kind of little place, hole in the wall, near the right across the street, or maybe on the University of South Carolina campus, called the Palmetto Pig. And Brent and I were pigs, and we ate a lot of pulled pork barbecue and green beans and what I thought was Brunswick stew, but she said, no, that's hash. And
I feel like it's all the same ingredients, just combined.
It tasted like...
And then labeled however you feel like labeling it. Could be
Yeah,
Brunswick
like,
stew, could be hash,
seemed like
could
Brunswick
be
stew to me.
chili, uncertain, like just,
It was good fried chicken and coleslaw and potato salad and banana pudding. I mean, they had everything. And so the Jeff and Brent rating, Liz is asking, I think we probably give it about a 7.5, something like that.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, not pretty good. Not
would
the best.
repeat, given the other options in Columbia?
Probably not.
Oh.
Probably not. So... Anyway,
So
yeah,
I
we do.
shouldn't-
Liz says we have high standards.
I see.
Anyway, but it was fun. You had to check. It was really a hole in the wall kind of place, and yeah. Anyway, so a good trip. Nice short legs, except even the Louisville turn at the very end of it. Weather was awesome until we did have a little delay in Columbia. The airplane that we flew the day before into Columbia, the APU air, the pneumatics part of the APU that we use to spin up, engines for engine start, was not working. It was inoperative, but the electrics from the APU were working, so it wasn't completely a bad situation. But we had to use an external air cart, what we call a huffer, to provide the high pressure air that we need to get into our pneumatic system to start spinning the engines for engine start. And not normally a problem, really wasn't a big deal for us until this morning. And Brent, we're in the van to the airport, and by the way, that was late too because the driver ended up getting caught behind a train, or on the wrong side of a train.
Classic.
And I guess it must have been a very long train because it was probably 15, 20 minutes late for our pickup this morning. But we made it there in time to do all this stuff. And then Brent on the way says, oh, hey, Jeff, did you see that the airplane that we flew yesterday that had the APU air issue is the airplane that we're flying this morning. I went, oh no, hope we don't have to de-ice. We had to de-ice because of frost. And we're not allowed to take off with frost on the upper wing surfaces and tail. And so, yeah, it was, they're not really, really good at the de-icing thing at Columbia. And then of course we had the added complication with the APU, you know, having to do an engine start at the gate and that kind of thing. So yeah, we got out of there about a half an hour late, but we ended up making it to Atlanta with only about maybe a 10-15 minute late arrival at the gate. So it wasn't as bad as I guess it could be. So, but that was the only little bump in the road, and the only weather that we had at all was going up to Louisville and back. There's just rain. Now, right now, or maybe not long from now, I think Louisville, Kentucky, and that area of the United States is going to be experiencing some pretty nasty, wintry weather, precipitation, ice, snow, and that kind of thing. And so, thankfully, trip is over. We don't have to fly in it. So, overall, good trip. So, that's what I did, and I just got back from that today. And I wanted to mention. Well, you want to? I guess we can do the artwork from the last show. And normally, this is artwork that our resident artist and creative Captain Nick does. But because he is taking a break because of his health issues, I had to do it, so I kind of slapped this together. And I was saying that, we talked about Tequila Tower was the, because of that controller in
Quito.
In Ecuador, Quito, was maybe, I don't know what he was enjoying, maybe Jose Cuervo, probably not. But we decided we'd entitle the show Tequila Tower, and I found a bottle of Jose Cuervo Especial. And now I was saying to the crew that now if Captain Nick had done this artwork, he would have done some nice special cleanup of the control tower in the background and gotten rid of that and made it look more like a real bottle of tequila. But I just didn't have time, nor the talent to
I was
to
gonna
do that.
say the former, obviously, the time, but
yeah. So. Anyway, so that's the artwork. Of course, the big bottle of tequila and the impaired. Yes, I do, Liz. Thank you. So we have and we're going to talk about our new Patreon here soon when we do the coffee fund. But he was asking, and many of you have asked this, in fact, and sometimes we take for granted that everybody knows their way around of all the different ways to listen / watch the Airline Pilot Guy show, but we probably shouldn't take that for granted. So let's talk a little bit about the fact that probably 90-something% of you, most of you, are listening to the show audio only. But we do get together using a video platform to record the show, and that's because it just makes it easier for us all to get together because we're all over the world. In this case, though, today it's just the three of us, or four of us actually, in North America. But when we have Nick on, he's over in England, across the pond, and using a video audio platform. Just makes it easier for us to get together so we can record the audio-only podcast. But there is a video, and we sometimes refer a lot to videos that we're watching that you're listening to only when you're listening to the audio-only podcast. But we always mention, if you want to watch this, the link for that YouTube video will be in the show notes. So we've had people say, well, how do I, see these videos that you guys are talking about? Well, couple different ways to do that. Now, I think the best way is to watch the YouTube video, which is on youtube.com/airlinepilotguy, or you can go to the, I think it's one of our pages on the website as well. Or if you just go to our website, airlinepilotguy.com, you can see all the different show notes with time stamps for the various news items that we're talking about and feedback. And if it involves a video, usually we have a link either directly to the video or to the special page in an app that we use to kind of run the show called Evernote. And then you can kind of find it from there and watch it yourself. Also, if you want to use those show notes on the airlinepilotguy.com website, if you scroll down beyond all the different things that I've listed with links, you can actually have a link to the to that video that we were using to record the show. So that's one way to do it. And you really should, if you get to our YouTube channel, the actual YouTube page, youtube.com/airlinepilotguy, if you're there, click on the subscribe button, and then also there's like a little bell, I think, to the right of the subscribe button. And that way, when a new YouTube video has been published, it gives you some kind of a notification so you can see that that's going on. Now, if you want to be notified before we do a live show and join all these wonderful people in our live audience, our live chat room, you need to subscribe to the social medias that we have, Twitter and Facebook primarily. And Liz puts out notifications every week. And like a couple days before usually, Liz, right? And then the day before. Yeah. And the
if you
morning
listen
of.
at the end of the show, I will tell you what all of those Twitter handles and Facebook addresses and things are, so you can find it.
Right. So yeah, stay tuned to the end where Steph is going to tell you all about how to follow us on Twitter and Facebook and that way you'll be notified when we're going to do the live show. And I think that most everybody would agree, especially John. He said this is the first time that he's actually joined us while we're recording the show live on the on YouTube, and he's enjoying the heck out of it. And there are a lot of great people. Well, they're all great people in there. They have a lot of fun helping us answer questions and also distract us while we're trying to concentrate on ignoring us and having conversations that have nothing at all to do with what we're covering in the show. And sometimes we have to be really focused on what we're talking about.
So
and
you
not
come to
look
the
at
live show, you can hang out with your friends in the chat room, and then later on, like during the week, you can listen to the show and see what you missed.
Exactly. Now, the audio-only podcast usually is a little bit, I clean it up a little bit, take out some extraneous stuff. Sometimes we have little tech issues, that we leave in on the video recording that we take out for the audio-only podcast. So they're a little bit different animals, but if you want to see the way the way the sausage is made, which sometimes is not palatable at all, you can watch us on the video. But yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you go to the video, I usually put in a time stamp where the show actually starts. So sometimes we're on for 5 to 10 minutes before we start recording the show, and sometimes it's a half an hour before we finally get around to actually, starting the real show, and Radio Roger does his intro for the show. So I try to make it handy for you to click on the time stamp, then you can start right there if you don't want to hear our pre-show banter. Although you're really missing a lot if you do that. But I know you have lives. Let's see, Neil in our chat room says the chat room is like free therapy for APG syndrome sufferers. Yeah, there you go. So if you're suffering from the syndrome,
we provide it as a free benefit for all the misery that we've inflicted upon you.
Exactly.
It's our way of giving back.
Oh, you know what? I was the other thing I want to mention, and I'm not sure that a lot of people are aware of this, but Nick and I really put a lot of work into something called chapters in the audio-only podcast. And I think most podcast players out there, like iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast,
yep,
Pocket Casts, all these kind of, individual standalone apps that you can subscribe to podcasts and listen to, support something called chapters. Apple used to call it enhanced podcasts, but now they're available for both iOS and Android podcast players, where we'll be talking about something and the image will change if you are on your iPhone or even
If you're
your
in your car, it'll show up on the, depending on what type of entertainment system you have, I think it shows up on the screen, right, for whatever's
Right.
playing.
yeah, and so
to
we try
distract
to
you from driving.
yeah, so, yeah. If you don't sue us, please. It's your responsibility not to look at that stuff. But if you are a passenger in a car, you can look at the image.
And just to
Pardon
be
me?
crystal clear, that's Captain Nick doing that. I do none of that work.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Captain Nick does all the images for when he does the plane tail, and then I take all the work that he's done in the plane tail and transfer it over to the plane tail in line with our normal show, and then all the news items and feedback items. For the most part, I'll add some pictures in your chapter supported podcast player. Now, if you're listening on, a lot of you listen on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, those kind of apps, those streaming apps. I don't think they support chapters.
No,
So,
it's just, you're just going to get the generic podcast
Yeah.
logo.
yeah. So if you want to see what we're talking about, and see because we do put a lot of work. I mean, it's not easy to do, and we spend a lot of time doing it. But if you want to check that out, just if you have an iPhone, you have probably, I don't know if podcasts is automatically now always there, or if you have
I think
to
it
download
is.
it.
I don't even think you can get rid of it, or maybe you can. I don't have my
Yeah.
phone in front
I
of me.
think you
My
can
phone's
get rid
over
of
there.
it, but it
I
does
think you
come
can now.
standard
It does
on
come built
Yeah.
into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
automatically there, and then if you want to remove it, you can do so.
Yeah, it used to be where you couldn't even get rid of it, but now I think you can. Same thing with Android. I think Google Podcasts or something like that is the one that comes over. I don't know. It depends on the phone that you have. But anyway, there are a lot of great podcast players out there that do support chapters. So I just wanted to let you know that we have that available for you if you want it. Oh, and the other thing is, I noticed that in my own experience with Overcast, that's my favorite podcast player.
Likewise.
When I first download the show, sometimes it doesn't download the version that has it's the version that has the chapters, but for some reason Overcast doesn't put them in there, and then I have to delete it and then re-download it, and then the second time usually is when I see all the different chapter pics and that kind of thing. Oh, and by the way, not only do they have the pictures, but also links that link to the news article that we're talking about, and other good stuff. So a lot of good stuff out there that you should check out. Okay. Anything I missed, Liz, on that? Okay. And we'll try to remember to mention that every now and then, because we have new listeners all the time, and may not be aware of all that stuff. And regardless of whether or not you have a podcast or using a podcast player that supports chapters, the show notes should be embedded as well. And and I think most of them have active links so that you can click on and actually go to those articles that we're actually using as a resource. So lots of good stuff out there for you. So check it out. But really, honestly, you need to join us on Facebook Live, or actually preferably YouTube. Shut up, Uber Frank. This is see,
Just
if
start
you
at
want
the
to
top. Just start at the top and take it again.
Thought you'd appreciate that one.
Frank is being a smart aleck. Uber Frank, he calls himself, but Frank is a great guy, and I had a high opinion of him until just now. He is in our live audience and giving me some crap. I know. It was a lot of stuff there, Frank, that you already know about, but you just shut up.
Can you repeat all of the stuff about all of
I'm
the
not going to
things?
repeat
Thanks.
it.
Yeah.
Just hit stop or pause and then just go back.
Hey, that's
few
the magic
minutes.
of podcasting, isn't it? If you
It
miss
is.
something, you can just, and on your podcast app of choice, it's probably got a little 30-second rewind or fast forward button. So if you're listening and then all of a sudden you just space out for a minute, you're like, wait, that sounded like something I wanted to hear. You can rewind. Or if Rick is talking and you're just drowning in crickets, you can fast forward a little bit to the salient points. No, just kidding. Listen to everything that Rick says.
Yeah.
Super important.
It's all good stuff. Okay, so Liz and I thought it would be a good idea to talk about all these little things that we take, we just assume that everybody knows how to, work their way around all that.
The real issue here, Steph, is Captain Jeff and I were a little too efficient getting through the news for Liz's,
These are
liking.
delay tactics. This is what happens when there aren't four of us on the show all at the same time. Yes, Liz is doing the
Now, what he's saying,
stretch it out.
what Nick is saying is sort of true, but Liz will vouch for me. We did actually talk about before we even started the show that we should probably talk about this on the show. So,
Important to cover, and maybe to be done at regular intervals going forward.
Yeah.
Every 50 shows or something, 25 shows.
Yeah, probably.
Ish.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. It's time now for the Coffee Fund, and we have a little jingle that goes along with that Jeff Smith, the podcast jingle master, did for us.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
All right. The Coffee Fund. That is your way, dear listener, to support us financially if you have the resources to do so, of course. If you need to save up that money for the roof over your head and clothing and food and flying lessons, then don't send anything to us. Spend it on that kind of stuff. But if you have some leftover change and you want to support us financially, please consider it. And yeah, look for the loose change in the couch. Anyway, as our former president says,
just send your cash.
Exactly. So, a couple different ways that we have for you to engage in the Coffee Fund cadre or the Coffee Bar Club. And that is, first is the Coffee Fund Classic, the OG donation mechanism for the Airline Pilot Guy Show. And since the last episode, Alistair Kerr, Paul Gubb, Roman Zooks, and Randy Ackerman used that to... I don't know if that's Gubby or not. Probably. We don't know too many Gubbs out there. Hey, and we haven't been able to do this in several shows. We have a new patron via Patreon. Mark Craig. Thank you, Craig.
Yay.
I mean, Mark, for or whatever you go by. Thank you for joining the patrons on Patreon. And so if you want to learn about how you can become engaged in the financial aspect of the support of the show, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. And as I like to say, you'll be glad you did, and we will too. And now, do I need a break? Probably. I could probably use a physiological break. Liz? Anybody else?
I'm good.
Thank you.
I think Nick just took one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, Nick C is following Nick A in his lead, doing the Coffee Fund. He leaves and takes care of that.
Captain Nick barely even waits for you to get started with the Coffee Fund. He's like,
I'm out of here. Okay, I will be right back, and Steph and Nick will entertain the troops.
Sounds good. Yes, I'm very good at entertaining the troops. Not. No, who was it? Biggles was asking about. This comes up not
the TV.
Infrequently.
Yeah.
Over my right shoulder here, there's a TV. There's all kinds of random stuff in this office. You can't see the whole wall of randomness that's over here to my left. Maybe at some point I'll shift things around so it'll be more interesting things or different things to look at in the background. But yeah, I bought that TV probably for way too much money. I think I paid $50 for it when I was a med student, my first year of med school. So we're talking like, what year was that? 2004? Because I moved across the country with only stuff that could fit in my car, which at the time was a Volkswagen Golf. Which, if you're familiar, are quite spacious vehicles. So I had a lot of stuff that I needed to procure once I arrived on the other side of the country.
Yeah.
TV was not a necessity, but someone happened to be selling one because I think they were graduating and moving out. And I said, oh, that looks great. And I just have a little room that I'm renting in someone's townhouse, and that'll do nicely. I've still got VHS tapes because it's 2004, and for those wondering, it still works. It's great. And I have several things on VHS, including Top Gun. So I'm not getting rid of it until it dies. Still works.
Oh, we're talking about the items in
my office.
The background.
Yeah. I said I need to do some like rearranging or something. So there's a whole, you can't see, but there's a whole bookshelf of just miscellaneous. I don't even know what the right word is. Mike has probably got a good word for stuff / junk / memorabilia. Yeah, I'll have to put some other things in the background.
Tchotchkes.
Tchotchkes. Thank you, Liz. Yes, I knew there was a word that was appropriate for that. But yeah, there's some interesting, good stuff in here. Lots of memories.
Excellent. Hey, I have to tell you that it's actually starting to get kind of comfortable in here now. It's up to 63
I was
degrees.
going to say, you're wearing like full-on winter gear there. And I don't even know where you are right now, Jeff.
Well, I'm in the cabin, and I forgot
it's a different background.
Well, yeah. It's the fireplace right here.
Is
and
it a
then
curtain behind you?
There's a door, with a curtain
see.
behind
Okay.
me. And then
Okay.
just to...
You forgot to turn the heat on.
There's the refrigerator over there. And anyway.
Yes, Steph, he did
so...
I've gathered, yes.
Yeah, I did not. I have a device on an app on my phone that I can control the thermostat, and I completely forgot until I opened the door. I went, oh, yeah, I forgot to pump up the
I turned the heat
thermostat.
down in my house because 72 seemed a little excessive. But now that it's back down to 68, I'm feeling quite chilly. Is it raining there?
What is that noise?
That sounds like rain.
That does sound like rain.
Oh, it is. It's raining. I thought it was coming from you guys.
No, it's on your end.
You saw me going like, huh?
Like,
What's that noise?
No,
Yeah,
I
that's
almost
right.
brought
didn't know
up
it was supposed
I have
to
a little
rain.
space heater down in my new workout room, which I almost brought up, but I thought it might be too loud or the fan would pick up on the microphone. So I'm just sitting here cold, but it's fine. Everything's
Yeah,
fine.
but I bet it's not. It wasn't 45 degrees when you walked into
It's
your
68
place.
in the house.
Oh, so shoot. That's 5 degrees warmer than it is for me here now. And I feel like this is nice and toasty now compared to the 45 degrees. Yeah, it was chilly.
Mm-hmm.
What's that, Liz? Oh, do I? She's looking at the radar, and I guess we have major rain coming into the northeast Georgia mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I'm completely surprised. I didn't know it was going to be raining here tonight. At least it's not going to be an ice storm, or snow.
Yeah, sorry,
So.
Nick, for your snow.
Yeah.
It happens.
Okay, so there we go. There's your weather report and inside temperature conditions
Climate.
in the cabin. The climate report.
Climate report.
At the cabin.
Hey, we tackle the difficult subjects here on the APG.
We
the
do.
hard-hitting, important aviation.
That's the kind of stuff people really want to know. They don't care about all this aviation stuff. They want to know about Jeff's cabin and what I'm drinking.
What are you drinking? Just real quick.
I am drinking a Scofflaw Brewing Company, an Atlanta brewery, and it's their kind of flagships
Scofflaw's good.
basement ale, which is really, really good.
And I think we're
I'm
going to talk
drinking-
about beer in another couple of minutes here too.
Are we?
I think so.
Oh yeah, we are. Oh yeah, we are. I should know that. Yeah. What else was I going to say? Oh, and I haven't. No, I'm not going to cut that out. Well, actually, probably all this is going to be not in the audio only because we haven't hit the feedback sounder yet. But I do have in the refrigerator over here to my right that I can almost touch the makings for a Velvet Pussycat. So we'll yes. It's all Nick A's fault.
Yes.
For
don't
introducing me.
Don't pin that on me.
Yeah,
No.
it's not your fault.
And maybe somewhat surprisingly, I think he was very innocent and he didn't really know that it had an alternative name.
I did the search. Yeah, well, was it Liz? Yeah, Liz did the research on it to find out what Guinness and port drink is called, and Nick was calling it Guinness with, and we all went, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And then so the alternative name is one that we
can
have
look it
to
up.
play this sounder.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
Yeah, and
Nice beaver.
thank you. Let's move on to the feedback sounder before we get into too much more trouble.
Captain, incoming message.
Alrighty, this is from David. He
Can
says,
you
"Dear Cap-"
preemptively play the crickets on this one?
Okay, let's get the crickets going. Should be C. Yes.
Good.
Okay, that's just to get you ready for it. Okay. Dear Captains, Dr. Steph, and Liz, and Nick C. I've been trying not to invoke my inner geek, this is David, but this 5G business has finally drawn me out. My day job as a chartered surveyor who advises landlords of mobile base station sites often involves giving clients safety advice around 5G and measuring the RF being emitted. Fortunately, in the UK, we do not really have the same concerns around airports as our higher band is between 13.4 and 3.6 gigahertz, so further away from the frequency used by the radar altimeter. 5G is a radio wave just the same as any other. The 5G element relates to the modulation coding, which, as Nick will know, is Captain Nick will know as simply how the signal is coded. Essentially, it's nothing special. What is more of a problem, for testing at least, is the system has become very intelligent. Base stations can reduce their power and inversely increase their power automatically depending on the loading and requirements of the cell phones that are being serviced. This means that something that was perfectly fine 1 minute may in fact emit significantly higher radio frequencies the next. Hard for testing, sites can also beamform and direct their beam pattern towards the highest demand. Again, this is done on the fly intelligently, so makes testing somewhat hard work. Wow, I'm starting to really hear the rain. So, Steph, have you had a few beers yet?
I have not.
Shoot.
And I'm drinking kombucha.
Oh, that's
which
no good.
This particular version clearly states on the label non-alcoholic.
Well,
would you like me to continue reading, though?
Why don't you continue reading, and then I can mute my microphone so you don't hear all this racket here.
We're almost through this feedback.
Okay.
He says, finally, one other point. During a previous show, Captain Jeff had said that handsets do not broadcast 5G on the frequencies concerning U.S. regulators. Unfortunately, that scores 0 points. We need our 50% down.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. If the phone is receiving in that frequency, it will transmit either on the same or a very close, depending on the type of, or very close frequency, I think he means, depending on the type of modulation being used. I apologize for going all geek on you. Please keep up the show and keep safe. Kind regards, David Powell. And he's included a picture of, I presume, a base station, mobile base station.
Not sure what that is. It might be something that...
family show, ladies and gentlemen.
Something that we
family
really shouldn't talk about on the show. Or maybe it's just I have a dirty mind. But, you know, then why is it... I mean, obviously you're the expert. I'm not, David. But why is it that they say that the actual handsets that people have that have 5G capability really aren't the issue for the airplanes that were operating here in the U.S. around
Can I take a guess? And I could be completely wrong, and David will probably write in to tell me that my guess also scores 0 points. I'm thinking the signal that the handsets emit or produce are probably a lot smaller in comparison to what the base station is producing or sending out, because that's transmitting to all the handsets, and the handsets aren't all sending back equivalent signal all at the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Probably. Yeah, maybe. And to be fair, I don't think I said that they don't broadcast 5G. I just said that the regulators here in the U.S. don't consider it an issue. But I don't know. Anyway, well, thank you for kind of setting us straight on that, David. But, you know, honestly, the practical result of all this hoopla in the last couple of weeks regarding 5G implementation here in the U.S. has really been not that big of a deal.
Underwhelming.
Honestly. Yeah, very underwhelming. So maybe it wasn't quite as, dangerous or risky a situation as.
How does that affect you directly, Captain Jeff? Do you get, when you have trips that are going to someplace?
If you're not watching the video, Jeff has just been like struck by something internal and is having some sort of convulsion / minor seizure. I'm not sure.
Do you get like new documents with airports that are no longer capable of all the approaches that you used to be able to shoot? Or
aren't they in NOTAMs?
Yeah, NOTAMs and notices to air missions,
which are just a bunch of garbage.
Just a bunch of garbage.
Thanks,
yeah.
Thanks, Steph. Here we go.
That's what NOTAMs are. They're just a bunch of garbage that nobody pays any attention to.
And that was the former NTSB chairman.
Never get old.
Yeah, that never gets old. So yeah, NOTAMs are what are being used to kind of manage the situation. And so for most of the airline fleets out there, they have something called AMOC or AMOC, we say, or alternate means of compliance.
Like run amok.
Yeah.
Alternate means of compliance.
Not quite. Yeah, run that amok. But I guess they've been doing some, extensive testing on these various radar altimeters or radio altimeters installed on most of the major airline fleets, and they have found that they haven't had any issues, and they're only a couple of, and this is something that is the NOTAMs are updated daily and maybe several times a day. That we, when we check our NOTAMs for our flights, we look and see if where we're going is affected at all by this 5G RA kind of issue. And my fleet is amongst the fleets out there that apparently the radio altimeters aren't really significantly affected or affected at all. But there usually is a list of airports that they say this alternate means of compliance is good for all the airports except these listed, and that listing of airports is becoming smaller and smaller every day that I've noticed. But in fact, the first day of our trip, we went to Huntsville and back for our first turn on our trip, and that was one of the airports listed as ones that alternate means of compliance does not apply. And but fortunately that day the weather was beautiful, VMC, so we didn't really have to worry about using radio altimetry for low visibility approaches or autoland approaches and that kind of thing. But then the next day we noticed, Brent said, "Hey Jeff, look, the Huntsville airport is not listed anymore." So it's an ongoing, constantly updated kind of management of these airports that have possible issues with 5G.
Yeah, so as they're testing them and figuring out what's workable and not, they're updating everything in a real-time basis. That's good.
And Tom in our live audience says the CRJ, he's a CRJ captain. He says we seem to be in the same boat, similar AMOC for us as you just described. So yeah.
Yeah, and just real quick, Tom is longtime listener, first time interacting. So welcome to the chat room, Tom.
Excellent. Well, welcome, Tom. Where the heck have you been?
Probably flying.
We're a little upset by this. No, just kidding. We're glad that you're here, and I hope that you have a good time with this crazy group of chatters, trollers in the chat room. All right. Anything else to say regarding 5G and RA and all that kind of stuff? Probably way more than we needed to say, right?
Well, I think he made it, a topic that I think is a little esoteric for a lot of us. He distilled it pretty well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, thank you, Liz. On the Plane Talking UK podcast, PTUK, Captain Al, who is just an awesome guy. I mean, a very intelligent, learned, and good-looking captain for
Airbus captain.
Airbus captain. Yeah, and like Czech airman, and top notch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did a special. Basically, almost the entire episode was kind of devoted to this whole radio altimeter 5G thing, and I'll hopefully remember to put a link to that episode in our show notes, and you can listen to Captain Al talk all about it. I mean, he covered everything extremely well. So Captain Al is a great guy, and it's definitely worth listening to. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for mentioning that, Liz. Yeah, now let's get on to something which is much more important, which is, of course, beer. And before I engage in this this feedback, I'm going to take a nice sip of my Scofflaw Basement. And again, I do apologize for all the background ambiance, the rain.
It sounds like we've all had
steel
some ambiance tonight. When I first joined, I could hear Nixie's family.
My wild children in the
yeah,
background. Yep.
running a little wild, and then my dogs decided to lose their minds over my neighbors just having a casual conversation, outside their house next door. And now you've got rain at your place, so it's been
that's just
covered all the
what
bases
we do.
there.
That's what we do here. Yeah, it makes it real, grassroots and all that. Okay, Eric sent in some feedback, and he said, since Delta is a sister airline of Acme, I thought this might be of interest. Now, I know there are people who fly Delta for the Biscoff cookies. I, on the other hand, fly Delta for the Sweetwater 420. Being from Michigan, we have a lot of great local beer, but what we don't have is Sweetwater, at least in my part of the state. So while I rarely pay airline prices for beer, I do take advantage of the opportunity to indulge in a Sweetwater 420 when I fly Delta. Imagine my surprise last week when I ordered a Sweetwater only to be handed a yellow can that clearly didn't say 420 on it. I got a bit scared when the name on the can was airline beer. Another cost measure by substituting Pabst Blue Ribbon, PBR, for real beer? Perhaps just near beer to help save the world from drunken passengers? To my surprise, when reading the fine print more carefully, it was actually brewed by Sweetwater exclusively for Delta. I believe the thought was that it would pair perfectly with Biscoff cookies. Even though the name isn't very original, the beer was quite tasty, and it did pair nicely, and I have to say, well, I'll add that at the end here. I'd actually been thinking about booking a flight on Acme rather than Delta the next time around. I just don't think they can compete, though. With all those beer experts on the APG, why can't they offer something special for the quality beer drinkers of the world to enjoy? Until they do, I'm sticking with my Biscoff paired with fine airline beer. And again, this is Eric Smith. So, Liz has on our video version, and if you're looking at the show notes, we'll probably have a link to this as well. The label from Sweetwater Brewing Company, which is Atlanta, one of many Atlanta brewers. So basically I should probably read the label here. It says the name of the beer actually is Hazy IPA, or Elevated Hazy IPA, brewed for high altitudes. Did you know the sensitivity of your taste buds reduces with altitude? It's why we elevated. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, because we've actually talked about that on our show in previous episodes. It's why we elevated our acclaimed hazy, and I don't know what, it's H period, A period, Z period, Y period. So I'm not sure what that acronym actually stands for with Sweetwater. But hazy IPA recipe together with Delta Airlines, brewed specifically to be enjoyed on a Delta flight at 35,000 feet. This double dry hop of Mosaic, Citra, Eldorado, and Azaka? It's very fine print here.
Well, there's your answer on. Oh no, not exactly. What was it?
AZACA, I think.
okay. Yeah,
Again,
just
I'm
kidding. Never
not
mind.
sure because it's kind of fuzzy.
I was just listening. I wasn't watching at the moment, and it sounded like you
Okay.
were saying things that had the letters of the acronym, but it does not. So that's
Oh,
my bad.
no.
No, not even close. Just
it creates even a more enhanced aromas of mango, stone fruit, lime and pine. Just a tasty in the clouds. Just as tasty
in the clouds as the original.
I'll let Steph continue because I can't read it.
Just as tasty in the clouds as the original Sweetwater Hazy IPA is on the ground.
Yeah. So
it
I
sounds
was
like
on my
they've
personal
hopped it
trip.
more or something.
Yeah, it's more highly hopped to kind of, it's all hopped up, like jacked up, because your taste buds are less sensitive as you get higher in altitude. And I had one. I was on Acme has a special relationship to Delta Airlines, and I was a passenger on Delta on the way back to Atlanta last week. And I asked if they had a Sweetwater Hazy IPA, and they did, and I enjoyed it, and it was really, really good.
Does that mean they're serving
very
alcohol
tasty.
again? I'm very excited.
Oh yeah, we've been.
Oh, okay.
Or they have. I'm sorry, they have been serving alcohol for quite some time. Yeah, not to the cockpit cruise, Liz.
I have a red eye flight coming up, and that would really be nice, on departure to.
Oh, it's really
enjoy
good.
one of those. Yeah.
If you ever fly that airline,
I will be flying that airline within the next week and a half on a red eye. So I will.
Yeah, so that will help you get off to La La Land.
Mm-hmm. And I'll bring my review back of it as well. But it sounds like
please do.
Eric's a fan, so I'm looking forward to
I'm a fan
trying.
as well. Mm-hmm. And on a trip before that, I guess I don't know how it happened that they actually got some of these things on an Acme flight, but I was talking to the flight attendants and asking about this beer, and the flight attendant grabbed one and brought it up to us in the cockpit, and I guess they, after we were finished talking about it, put it on the jump seat. And somebody said, I think I'm going to take this and put it back over here. This is not a good look.
This is not where this needs to be, actually. Although, Eric, I will say, my favorite beer actually comes from your home state of Michigan. Big fan of Founders. And all-day IPAs. Those are my favorites. So.
Yeah, Founders makes some awesome
Founders makes a lot of good beers.
Yeah.
So does Sweetwater. Big fan of both. Very cool.
Did Brewdogs do some special beers for British Air?
Yes, they did.
I don't know.
Yep, absolutely they did. I forget what it was called, but British Airways has a Brewdog beer. Let me see if I can.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely
very
had
nice.
it.
Okay, well, kind of keeping with the beer and hop theme.
It was called the Speedbird 100. Sorry.
Speedbird 100. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, the next item in our feedback is from Greg Peterson, and he's pointing us to an incident from a hop ERJ. In this case, though, hop I don't believe has anything to do with hops that we have in beer, but a hop ERJ takeoff disrupted Autoland approach for a trailing 717. And Greg says, looks like the Funyuns were lining up all over the place on this one. ATC clearing them for takeoff, the pilots accepting the clearance when they were 350 meters from the stop bar. ATC not issuing a go-around, looks like a mess all around. And again, this is from our Big Ass Fan, Greg Peterson in Lexington. He works for the Big Ass Fan Company. Yes, that is really the name of the company. We're not making that up. Okay, so this is from the flightglobal.com. French investigators believe an Embraer ERJ-145 crew's premature acceptance, that's embarrassing, of takeoff clearance disrupted the landing of a Boeing 717 on low visibility approach to the same Strasbourg runway. Investigation authority BEA says Cat 3 conditions prevailed at the time. That's very low visibility for those of you not familiar with the designations of category ILS approaches. The crew of the HOP ERJ-145 bound for Amsterdam had accepted an immediate take-o clearance.
Like take-o-matic clearance.
Every time they refer to takeoff, they say take-o. I think it's really funny. A take-o clearance, while still 350 meters from the runway stop bar. Owing to the reduced visibility and absence of ground radar, the controller was unaware of the ERJ's position. The BEA says the ERJ pilots could not judge whether they were capable of carrying out an immediate takeoff, and the carrier's procedures would not have permitted it because they had not received readiness confirmation from the cabin crew. But it believes the pilot's decision was motivated by their wanting to meet the takeoff slot. The Volotea 717 was conducting an automatic Category 3 approach to runway 23 at the time. Investigators found that the ERJ-145 had not cleared the sensitive ILS zone before the 717 was authorized to land. Although the 717 crew had been advised of the departing ERJ while 2.8 nautical miles from the threshold, the ERJ only started applying takeoff power when the 717 was about 1 nautical mile from touchdown.
It's pretty close.
That's close.
That's
Yeah,
real
very close. The controller did not instruct the 717 to execute a go-around, instead cleared its crew to land as the ERJ lifted off, even though the HOP aircraft had not cleared the sensitive zone of the ILS system. BEA says this was contrary to Air Navigation Services procedures, but adds that the controller wanted to avoid having the more complex situation of two aircraft flying in close proximity without visual contact. The inquiry points out, however, that during the there's something was missing here on this. We missed some. That during the event, maybe. I don't know.
The approach, the landing, the deviated to the left of the center line.
The R. The 717 deviated to the left of the center line, and its captain intervened to correct the course and land the aircraft. The BEA believes the automatic landing was probably disrupted by the ERJ's presence in the sensitive area of the ILS. It's an electronic signal, the antenna for which is located on the far end, the departure end of the runway. And so it most likely did interrupt the signal. Although it acknowledges that the possibility of wake turbulence from the ERJ cannot be ruled out. I doubt that would be the case. Anyway, nobody was injured here. The BEA, which has newly released its findings on the incident, states that the controller communicated with the 717 crew in English and the HOP crew in French, although it's not been able to ascertain whether the use of English throughout might have altered the outcome. And I will say, this is not part of the article or report, I think it probably made a big difference, because if you don't know French and you hear somebody speaking French and you have no idea what they're saying, you may not understand that what they're trying to say is that somebody is being cleared for takeoff while you're executing a low visibility Category 3 auto land approach to the same runway. And I guarantee you that if they had known that, they would have done something to prevent this from occurring.
Yeah, they would have initiated a go around or something. You know?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, like when I would be flying around, or still am, I guess. I'm still a VFR pilot. When I'm flying around and people are using, especially in uncontrolled airport environments, and people are using like IFR fixes and stuff to call out their positions, to a lot of pilots, that means nothing. Like they could be the next state over. Mm-hmm. For all you know, and I'm sure it's the same.
Or
way
even if they're using VFR fixes, there's a local airport, one of the next airports over that's on the same CTAF frequency. It's not uncommon to hear pilots, approaching there, and maybe even in the pattern reporting over the water tower. And I've flown near that airport, and there are multiple water towers in the vicinity.
Yeah, which one?
I'm still not sure which one they're referring to, but it's like I get a good laugh out of it every time. Ooh, the infamous water tower. Like, where's your water tower?
You need to ask one of these times, Steph.
Hey, where is this water tower? Can you tell me?
What water tower are you talking about?
I have no idea.
Communication is so important and and you got to hear what's going on to kind of be fully aware and fully safe in all these situations, whether it be Do I? Yes. Liz is asking me, don't you fly into Montreal every now and then, and don't you hear, different languages being used? And yes, I do. And it's frustrating because I don't speak French. I don't know what they're talking about. And I want to know, what's going on out there, because I'm always creating this, this spatial mental picture in my head of where everybody is and what they're experiencing and what they're doing. And I think that it really degrades safety when you don't get that information. And I think a lot of pilots agree with me.
So a big addition to that for us is just having ability to receive ADSB signal. So especially when you're flying places where maybe people aren't talking on the radio all the time because they're not technically required to. For GA aircraft, I think that's been a huge thing. Obviously, you can't rely 100% on it. You need, but just in terms of building your situational awareness, it really helps if there's a target on your screen and you're going, I haven't heard anything from this person. I'm not really sure what their intentions are. And then you can just be a little bit more heads up and aware that there's something going on over here and be on the lookout for that.
Right. But just the information, just seeing the information, that's good, but you're really not sure, as you just said, you don't really know, well, what are they doing? I see something's out there. Are they going away or going this way? Or are they climbing their descent? It's nice to hear that.
Sure.
Verbal communication.
It's nice to have both components of it when you can.
Yeah.
Because then it really just makes the picture that you built in your mind that much more rich if you don't have visual, if you haven't visually acquired the other aircraft. Right.
Now, Neil Landmore in the live audience is asking, do you speak Canadian, Jeff? Not very well. I understand some of it, but not all of it.
Another... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say he's mostly confused by what Liz is saying to him right now, but he's just going along with it.
Another point I wanted to make was this comment where they said, BEA said this was contrary to Air Navigation Service procedures, but adds that the controller wanted to avoid having the more complex situation of aircraft flying in close proximity without visual contact. And that kind of reminds me of a story that, the two controller guys were telling from the magical...
the mythical triad?
Oh, the mythical triangle. Triad.
Where they had like one guy taking off and one guy went around and both of them went into the clouds at the exact same time. And there was like a moment of silence and I think he was a trainee. I don't remember if it was
I heard
AG
that story
or not.
and I'm trying to remember all the
it was a
details
trainee.
of it, but I
and it was a trainee and the guy who was training him was like, you got to give one of them a turn. And, which like I get having two airplanes go in the clouds close to each other could be unnerving, but it seems like you turn each of those guys 10 degrees in opposite directions and that problem is immediately solved.
Right.
Whereas if you have someone coming in on a Cat 3 landing situation and they have an equipment issue when they can't see anything within tens of feet of the ground, I can't imagine a more complex issue than a pilot being like, oh, I'm 50 feet above the ground, can't see anything, and my airplane stopped flying itself.
Yeah.
So that seems like that was maybe not the right
Yeah, and I don't think
decision.
they're excusing the controller working contrary to procedures here. I think they're just saying this was his rationale for why he continued with that.
Yeah.
But to bring that up as a learning point too, think through all those scenarios and consequences, which is what is the correct thing to do here.
Right,
and
right.
Probably not that.
Right.
Yeah, not that.
Can be a learning point.
Absolutely. All right. Oh, Tim Van Ram is making a comment. Speedbird is or SPDBYRD is my license plate on my 1962 Thunderbird. Not too many folks can figure out that it means Speedbird. Ah, probably not. That is cool. On his Thunderbird, yeah. Wow. Nice, Tim. All right. Let's move on to this next feedback item from Gustav. He says, sent feedback earlier today, but I made 2 additions on the Okay, let's see. Good day. Hope all is well with you guys. Some drone news coming out of Sweden this week where at least one big drone was flying above one of our nuclear power plants. And there's talk that drones have been seen over other nuclear power plants here in Sweden too. Word on the street is that these things fly fast at significant altitudes and that they can stick around for hours. And although those details aren't confirmed, these are not DJI drones. As there are some people who think that these might be connected to a foreign power, I wonder how small drones do you think a fighter actually take out? I understand that one could never take down a toy-sized drone, but these drones that are mentioned in the article must be pretty substantial. On a lighter note, I saw this post from the Air and Space Museum, the predecessor to the Mad Dog, and I thought of you guys. As I hear it, Acme replaced these airplanes with the Mad Dog, and the reason for why the Mad Dogs came with chemtrail equipment installed was so that they could continue aerial crop dusting operations. But maybe that's just fake news? Yeah, I think that's fake news. This is from Instagram. There's the picture of the Huffdaland or Huffdaland. I'm not sure how they pronounce that. The dusters, the origins of Delta Airlines in the Mississippi Delta, the Mississippi River Delta region of the United States, and that's why the airline was named Delta. It was the Huffdaland Duster Company, the nation's first aerial dusting business. And this duster here is pictured at the Udvar Hazy Center, designed in 1925 for a new method of controlling agricultural insect pests, aerial crop dusting. Yeah, that's how the Delta Airlines came about. And then they started carrying passengers, and then the rest, as they say, is history.
Mm-hmm.
The wings did not fall off. Yes, you're right, Liz.
They
not
didn't
like
collapse up onto themselves.
Because they didn't put holes in them.
Yeah, they're attached a little bit differently. It's just one solid wing across the top.
Like Nick was talking about last week, that he didn't want to put a hole in his wing of his Debonair.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, so very cool. That's very, very funny. Gustav. Anyway. He also
anything
included,
about the drones?
Yeah.
Oh, I just any commentary on the drones? I don't know that I really have much to add to that. Kind of a odd thing. Certainly, I think nuclear power plants are a prohibited place to fly your drones here in the United States, if I remember correctly, or within a certain radius.
Mm-hmm.
But
probably the same in Sweden as well.
I would
imagine.
expect. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
there's
a
link to Reuters.com article regarding the drones near 3 nuclear plants. So if you want to learn more about that, just look up the show notes, and you'll be pointed to that. All right, let's continue with this. This is exciting. We talked about this young lady on an earlier episode of the Airline Pilot Guy show, but Tim Van Ram, who is in our live audience, sent us this in his hot tub. Are you kidding me? You low life.
That sounds nice. I might do that afterwards once the production assistant's finished cleaning it.
Oh yeah.
Maybe then he'll bring me a drink while I sit out there and enjoy the nice warm temperature.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Pictures will be requested. Okay.
Nope.
Anyway, Tim says, hi, APG show. I'm sure I won't be the only one sharing this breaking news of this wonder feat that was just accomplished by 19-year-old Zara Rutherford of Belgium in flying solo around the world as the youngest woman to do so. I'm happy to submit this news for the show, if not only to hear Captain Jeff pronounce the airport in Belgium where she finally landed to complete her adventure. Well, that's if I even try. I don't think I will to pronounce this. So teenage aviator Zara Rutherford has become the youngest woman to fly around the world solo. The 19-year-old, who has dual British-Belgian nationality, landed at Kortrijk Airport.
Ding!
Yeah, got it. In western Belgium. I mean, I don't think anybody can fault that pronunciation whatsoever. She completed an epic 41-country journey spanning over 52,000 kilometers, 32,300 miles, and broke 2 Guinness World Records in the process. I made it, Rutherford who received a rapturous welcome on her arrival, told reporters. Not only has she beaten the record held by American Shasta Ways. Is that the way you pronounce that stuff? Ways?
Sure.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Who was 30 years old when she circumnavigated the globe unaccompanied in 2017. Rutherford also now holds the title for the first woman to circumnavigate the world in a microlight aircraft. She's also the first Belgian to fly around the world alone. However, the teenager's route to glory hasn't been without its challenges. When she departed on August 18, 2021 in a bespoke Shark ultralight aircraft, she believed her aerial escapade would take about 3 months. Teenage pilot Zara Rutherford lands in oh no, it's a caption for an image. But she was plagued by setbacks, including month-long delays in both Alaska and Russia due to visa and weather issues, pushing her schedule back 8 weeks. She said, I would say the hardest part was definitely flying over Siberia. It was extremely cold. Yeah, it is. It was minus 35 degrees Celsius on the ground. Yeah, that's cold. Rutherford said during a press conference on Thursday, if the engine were to stall, I'd be hours away from rescue. I don't know how long I could have survived if that had happened. She was also forced to make an unscheduled landing in Redding, California due to poor visibility as a result of the wildfires in the Seattle area, and was later denied permission to fly over China. I was hoping to complete it by Christmas, but I guess that's not happening anymore, she told reporters at Gimpo International Airport in Seoul, South Korea, after arriving from Vladivostok on December 13th. But it's an adventure. So anyway, she flew to an array of destinations such as Singapore, Egypt, and Greece, Russia, South Korea, but she was unable to explore any of them on land due to COVID-19 restrictions. Find my sad.
Work,
sound.
work, work,
Nope, not
work,
that one.
work, schedule, work.
Yeah, work sometimes is a wow.
That's appropriate.
Yeah. The final leg of her journey was also hit with delays due to bad weather, which meant her completion date was moved back another week. Anyway, so it talks a little bit more about Zara, and that's quite an accomplishment for anyone, especially somebody as young, and regardless of the gender. That's an amazing accomplishment. And anyway, Fly
Yeah, very
Zolo
cool.
is the website if you want to learn more about this whole thing, and we'll have all this linked in the show notes. What do you think, Steph? Are you going to go out there and try to beat... Oh, never mind. You're a little bit older than 19.
Too late. I'll have to think of some other kind of around the world challenge, like, drink a beer at each stop, or each end of day. in
With
a
your
different
hands
country.
tied behind your back.
Yeah, I don't know. Local beverage, and I don't know. Surely there's some sort of way we can make this a Guinness record. Fly to destination, run a marathon. Fly to next destination,
Ooh.
run a marathon. Do that all the way around the world.
And drink beer
And
while
drink
running.
beer. I think we can combine a lot of things. Just make it an impossible record to break.
I'll be there to record this phenomenal
Excellent.
journey.
Lectures on shimmy dampers.
Oh man, it has all the of a movie, maybe
I think
TV
so.
movie.
Yeah. Yes, straight to DVD.
Oh man. Yeah. Anything else to say?
No, very cool. Congratulations to her. That's a huge accomplishment. A lot of logistics. I'm not even sure. Took her a little more than 3 months to complete it, but I'm sure a lot more time went into the planning, logistics, and funding, and securing sponsors and that aircraft that was bespoke for her. Lots of stuff goes into that. So congratulations to her and her whole team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Plain Talking UK podcast are working hard to coordinate an interview with
that would be
Zara.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This next one, Liz is stepping away in the background, so I'm going to have to do this on my own. Hopefully I can do this. This is from Larry. Some feedback. He says, this wasn't an Acme flight. Okay. Another classic bit of reporting. I was a bit confused as to where the other 6 people came from. Quote, the flight's 13 customers deplaned safely. And then another quote, the 19 passengers on board the aircraft were not injured, Well, I don't. Not sure.
Are we sure it was a CRJ? The picture's got an A321.
Oh wait, no, hang on.
Oh,
hang
I'm
on.
sorry.
Okay. So let me show you a picture in the article of the CRJ 900 that was involved in this incident. There you go.
No, I was wrong. It's not a. Yeah, it is a.
It is a 7.5.
7.5, yeah.
Yeah. That's not a CRJ 900.
Not a CRJ.
It's not the new underwing engined variant of the CRJ.
It's the stretch version.
Another nailed it from the journalist here. Anyway.
Although, to be fair, the caption does not claim that was the aircraft.
No,
question.
It doesn't. But
It'd be
it's
nice.
kind of.
How hard is it to find a picture of a CRJ 900? Like, all you have to do is Google CRJ 900.
Obviously,
Surely they
it's
have that
very
in
difficult.
Their image files. I don't know. Anyway.
But they're thinking, well, it doesn't matter. And you know what? Honestly, for like 90-something% of the people reading the article, they wouldn't know any different either, would they? Or care. But anyway, the article talks about, this is from Fox 23 News, in Raleigh, North Carolina, a Delta Airlines jet, which is not really a Delta Airlines jet, although it's operated for Delta Airlines by another air carrier, skidded off the runway at Raleigh-Durham International Airport during icy conditions on a Friday night, causing the airfield to be closed for about an hour. Delta Flight 5501 landed safely about 9 p.m. Eastern after arriving from Washington, but while taxiing to the gate at the North Carolina airport, it rolled into the mud. Okay, so many things wrong with this. It did not skid off a runway. It was not on the runway. It was on a taxiway, or actually, in this case, a ramp. And it was so icy.
It wasn't like skidding. It just, I don't know.
Well, this
skidding makes it sound like they were trying to stop on the runway and weren't able to, and no, it was just icy and they slid a little bit.
What'd you say, Liz? Like the cargo guys?
That was a little different.
So, and this is something that a point should be made here, that usually the services at these airports, when it's icy/snowy, wintry conditions, do a really, really good job of the runways themselves. I mean, those runways are really treated well. But as soon as you get off the runway and onto the taxiways, they're probably not prepared or taken care of as well as the runway. And then when you get into the ramp areas, they may not have done a darn thing on the ramps. And so you just cannot be too careful when you're... Pardon me? Okay. You can't be too careful when it comes to taxiing the airplane around when you have these kind of conditions, especially on the, especially taxiways, but especially the ramps. And you just have to assume that that ramp that you're going to be taxiing your airplane on, it probably has not been treated, and it's going to be like an ice skating rink. And got to keep both engines running, and you got to have, have all those control devices like your engines and reverse thrust and everything available to you, and just in case you might need them to keep the airplane from skidding off and going into the mud.
I think the day this happened, this was probably earlier, or last weekend sometime. I was up in the not quite in Raleigh, but kind of halfway between here and there, and I noted we were staying at a hotel for the weekend, and they did a really good job. The analogy is they did a really good job of like salting and treating the reception area, where you drive up to the front of the hotel and the area right there. But then just around the corner where you park, the accessible ramp, like the handicap ramp, they didn't do a darn thing with. And I was like, you would think of all places that you'd want to maybe shovel and treat, this might take a higher priority. Never once got touched the whole weekend, as far as I could tell.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, it was. I was like,
sounds like lawsuit to me. Wow.
Okay. But yeah.
Yeah. So just be careful out there, people. And when it comes to this, I know many of you who listening to the show have actually been passengers on flights that I've been captain on. And many of you may say that I like to taxi the airplane on the
more southwest side.
Yeah, more like a southwest taxiing speed. Yeah, I admit it. I do like to. I don't like dilly-dallying around. But let me tell you, this guy that you have experienced, when it comes to slippery, icy, snowy, wintry kind of weather, I'm crawling. I mean, once I start heading for the taxiway exit of the runway, I'm very, very deliberate and careful on those because I just know, and I've felt it before. The airplane just starts going like
not
the
a good
direction
feeling.
you're not
Yeah.
expecting it, and you go, no, this is no good. Yeah, so I'm very careful when it comes to that. I think most of us are out there. So sometimes, it doesn't work out so well. All right. Texas Charlie sent us in some audio feedback, but I'm going to read what he says here first. Hi, y'all. Greetings from the Oklahoma Prairie. Hope this New Year's done smiled on y'all and is bringing health and joy to you and your loved ones. Our friend and part Texas
I
Charlie
need you
done
to read
showed
this
me
in
how
a
to record.
better Southern accent, or
You want
not
to?
even Southern, but I could give it a
You say
try.
you-
And if
Okay.
if I'm terrible, Nick can take over for me here.
All right.
Nope.
Go.
Our friend and partner, Texas Charlie, done showed me how to record on this phone of mine, so I don't have to use my Radio Shack tape recorder anymore. Those Texans are an uppity bunch with about as much sense as a gnat, but they're good folk. I done stuck my recording to this electronic letter. It's mostly a tip of my hat to Dr. Steph and her earth plummeting hobby. I also done stuck a photo of me in our new plane, Natasha, and the girls. The girls would say, howdy, but mostly they say, moo. Gary, our lead flight attendant, also wanted to say hi, so I stuck on a photo of him as well. We find hiring rodeo clowns as flight attendants is great for business. They don't put up with no bull hockey from any of... Sorry, I can't say that with a straight face. Let's start over on that one. They don't put up with no bull hockey from any drunken greenhorns, and they also entertain the kids. Y'all keep up the fine work, and as my grandpa Silas always said, live each day with courage. Take pride in your work, and as long as I got a biscuit, y'all got half. Or you got half. Meaning, face the day standing tall, feeling good, and with charity in your heart. Y'all have fun, you hear? Your friend Genki.
Genki. All right.
How'd I do? Was that okay?
Oh, that was awesome.
Okay.
Very nice job. So we have the audio feedback coming right now from Genki.
This is Genki Farkenwithel. Maybe you remember me. I fly the right seat for Okie Air. On your show has done for us. Only yesterday our outfit was so small you'd have to stand up to look a rattler in the eye. Today we got more passengers than a bull's butt got flies. We've never before had to worry about overbooking a flight, and you want to tread lightly when bumping a hick who's been wrestling steers all morning. I don't like getting throwed down and tied up. Things are so good, we done bought ourselves a new plane. Natasha's a Tupolev 138. She's a bit like my sister Beulah after she was kicked in the head by that mule. She's a bit different, but everyone still loves her. We got our Tu-138 on eBay, and she's the purtiest thing you ever laid eyes on. Those Ruskies made her for unpaved runways, perfect for our West Texas routes. And I like looking out her glass nose cone. It's as clear as spring water in Mama's best crystal. Dr. Steph, I envy your time under the sheet. I mean your parachute. As a young'un, I just reckoned you jumpers threw yourselves out of a perfectly good plane 'cause you were nuttier than a squirrel's turd. Then I gone and done it. Now, I only jumped once, and it was back in the 80s. I was a freshman at Tulsa Tech, and I saw a poster talking about instruction in a static line jump for $100. $100 that I could afford about as much as Aunt Addie could afford another 100 pounds. But that was the best $100 I ever done spent. It was all as primitive as a barnwood buckboard. We were told that we'd be using a round surplus chute, and over the next few days we practiced our landings by jumping backwards off a milking stool, pretended to shoot by using imaginary toggles, and read our instruction manuals. We were then warned that during our real jump we would hit the ground a bit harder than jumping off a stool. It'd be more like jumping off a 10-foot wall, facing backwards, and then gracefully falling onto the backside by rolling from the balls of our feet to the side of our ankle, to our thigh, to our butt, and then on the back. Slick as a whistle. Must have practiced it more times than a preacher's daughter being kissed. And that's a lot. A few days later, I was plunked down next to 3 other newbies sitting in a small single-engine plane, flying at 3,000 feet, sitting there, just looking at the jump master as he opened the sliding door while flying around at 3,000 feet. Did I mention that we were 3,000 feet? That's high enough to get killed and low enough to get killed. But I was probably too much in shock to think about it. The next thing I knew, the fella looked at me yelling, "Step up to the door!" I moved forward toward the light filtering through the opening, and the man took my static line and clipped it to the side of the plane. The pilot cut the engine, and the jump master shouted, "Step out!" I stepped out through the open door, placing one foot on the wheel pant and the other on the wheel strut, while holding tight on the wing brace. I remembered that it was deathly quiet, like the dark prairie night after a rain done past. Quiet, except for the sound of the cold wind passing over my helmet. No engine noise, no one speaking, not a beat of my heart, nor the sound of my breath. That moment became an eternity, the most beautiful sensation of my life, like that first moment you take your baby into your arms. And then back to reality with a slap on my back from the jump master, and my training kicked in. I pushed off with my feet, let go of the brace, and began falling face first to the ground. The rest was like riding a bull. It's never easy. Just let your training take over, and the ride will usually end up with you in one piece. So per my training, I started counting. 1, I've left the plane. 2, static line done pulled out my chute. 3, the chute's done popped. 4, look up at the chute. 5, check for tangled lines. 6, if the chute's done fouled, yank the reserve cord and pop the pack hard with the butt of my hand so to give it a little incentive. But the cords and canopy were in dandy shape. Good thing, 'cause 7 would have been the reserve chute popping open, and 8 would have been me hitting the ground if when the reserve didn't do its job. Looking up at the now open main chute, the fabric dome filled the sky. I pulled my right toggle, the right vent closed, and I slowly turned round to the right. I did the same thing with the left toggle, and I slowly spun left. For a few minutes, I felt alone in the sky, like a lonely hawk riding a thermal on a warm day. The quiet emptiness around me was both beautiful and impossible to describe. I looked down to see our small group of instructors looking up at us jumpers, and as clear as a lone calf bleating in the night, I could hear the guys on the ground talking, even though I was still far above. Then reality gave me a little pop with his finger. I looked around below me and saw that I had drifted over a dag-nabbed forest and was some 100 yards to the north of the clearing that was our landing zone. I toggled right to steer and spin toward the clearing, but with a stiff tailwind I knew that I would have to turn back around before landing so I wouldn't hit the ground going forward as fast as a jackrabbit. I cleared them trees by breath, toggled a slow spin right, and lined up with what I thought would be a perfect landing. So as per my training, while traveling backwards at about 3 miles per hour, I extended my toes and touched the ground. All I could think was tips of toes, balls of feet, side of ankle, side of thigh, roll onto butt, and then onto back. Well, physics had other ideas, and a second later the back of my helmeted head slammed on the ground. There's probably a dent still in that field. Lots of pain and stars, and pure joy. I'd done spent all my mad money, so I couldn't afford to jump again. And I ain't jumped since. Can't say it's not a little bit 'cause nowadays I'd have to jump tandem, and I'm a tad bit funny about having a guy strapped to my back. But maybe a lady instructor wouldn't be so bad. Well, that's my tale. It's as true as memory lets it be. And I remember the sky bluer every time I tell it. Y'all keep the wheels down and the rudder up, and remember how lucky we are to see the world from above the clouds. Still got that cold chocolate yoo-hoo in the icebox waiting for you. Mom and him say hi. Genki out.
Thank you, Genki.
It's a
Wow.
good story.
That was very poetic.
Yeah. I love the description of the parachute landing fall.
Exactly. I was going to
Gets
say, that
practiced a
sounds
lot.
like the PLFs that I
PLF.
did, when I was in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm. They haven't changed. Still the same.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. well, glad you got to do it, Genki. And yeah, think about a tandem jump. I think you'd enjoy it, even if it is with a guy instructor. But there's a couple ladies out there who are tandem instructors as well.
Find you a cute girl. Yeah. All right. That's awesome. Thank you very much, Genki. What's his last name? Farkenwinkle or something?
Something like that.
Farkenwinkle.
I didn't write it down this time, so I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
It's not over there.
Genki F.
Yeah. Oklahoma version of Plain Tales.
Tim Van Ram says Oklahoma version of Plain Tales. That's right. It's a shortened version of the Plain Tales from the Oklahoma Prairie.
I love all the metaphors and similes in there that all seem to revolve around animals. I think my favorite was nutty as a squirrel's turd.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, you just that just brings that picture right into your
It's a
head.
visual, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not a good one.
No. Thanks for that, Genki.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's move the thing on. Mike has a question. He said, I'm sure this has been discussed, but help me understand the decoding of the route flights take. It looks like there are choices for point A to B. Does the pilot choose this? How do they file the flight plan? Example below. And so it's kind of a fuzzy picture that he included. I think he was doing this on Facebook. But essentially, it's like what you can pull up on FlightAware or several different sites that you can gain information or access information on airplanes and their proposed routes of flight plans. And I think if I understand Mike's question correctly, he's wondering how is it that these flight routes are chosen, and it really depends. Now, in Steph's world, if she were to fly an IFR flight, it would be her. She would decide.
Well, actually, in reality, you can just enter what you want to do into ForeFlight, and it will come up with some suggestions. And if it will come up with suggestions that have recently been accepted as well, if it's between 2 points that other pilots have flown. So that way you won't get a whole bunch of we've changed all of it, so you gotta copy it all down differently.
ATC preferred routings.
Correct. Yeah, but you can choose it to a great extent. Mm-hmm.
Nick, you do your own flight planning, I'm sure. But you're flying mostly VFR, right? So you really don't have to file this kind of a detailed flight plan, right? Yeah. Yep. In my world, now in the Air Force, pilots would, now I don't know if this is still true or not, we would file our own flight plan routings and submit them to the, and as Steph mentioned, if it wasn't something that met with their satisfaction, they would correct it and put you on a routing that was they preferred. In the world that I'm in now and have been for the last 33 years, we have dispatchers that that's their job, or one of many jobs that they have, is to look at the flight segment from A to B and where the weather is and what the winds are and all these different things. And then they have several different routings that they can choose. And there are certain ones that are the air traffic control ATC preferred routings. But there are cases when they can deviate from those to take advantage of more favorable winds and maybe avoid weather. And sometimes even ATC will have a routing that is not their normal preferred routing, but because of the National Airspace System, they would rather you do this because they know that if you use the normal routing, you're going to run into trouble and have to deviate, and it's just going to cause a problem for everyone. So when I show up for my flight, the gate agent usually hands me a bunch of paper that has the flight plan all printed out on it via old dot matrix printers, believe it or not. And we also have an electronic version of the flight plan available to us as well that we can call up. And as I said, it's been already chosen and decided upon. Now, what we will do as pilots, we'll look at it and go, yeah, that makes sense. We can do that. Or I might look at it and go, that flight plan routing that you just sent me or filed for me is taking us right through some weather that I don't want to have anything to do with. So I propose that we alter our flight plan. And if air traffic control approves, then you can get cleared that new routing. But you also have to consider, how much extra fuel you might burn in that new routing and make the appropriate adjustments for that. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes as far as flight planning, fuel planning, that kind of thing.
Most of the stuff in that routing, those are different fixes along the way. The stuff at the very beginning and the end are generally the departure and then the arrival that are assigned or chosen. So you can see that in Flight Rate or Flight Aware.
And it's a very flexible thing as well, because you might set off going from Atlanta to Dallas and be on a certain routing and a certain arrival going into, let's say, Dallas Love Field. And then en route, the weather may have done something that nobody really expected it to do. And then they'll say, okay, we have a revision to your flight routing, advise when ready to copy. And then you get your pen out. Or if you're like me, I'll just say, I'm flying. I'm too busy flying. I can't write that down. No, I'm just kidding. That guy.
I can't write anything. I'm flying.
I'm flying.
Okay,
leave me alone.
November Romeo.
But anyway, so yeah,
unless it's direct Dallas, and then you're like, okay, great, yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
But then you say, okay, instead now we want you to fly to this fix, and then fly the this other arrival, and to avoid weather, or sometimes it's not even weather. It's like just balancing the flow of traffic going into some of these big metropolitan airports. So that happens from time to time. And so, as I said, it's a very dynamic, flexible environment that you have to, be ready to make changes and accept changes and understand the implications of those changes. But if you're a instrument-rated pilot and you're on your own, then you're the one, as Steph said. Steph's the one that decides what routing to take. And is there like a published set of routings from point A to point B stuff that you can look at and say, this is what they're probably going to give me? Or
not really. Unless someone's going to write in and correct me. But
so I think ForeFlight and Garmin Pilot have started populating those.
It's not an official publication. That's what I was kind of hinting at, that when you put in, hey, it basically has a flight planning tool. So you put in, I'm going to go from here, say I want to go from Charlotte to Atlanta. Not a super long flight, but, it might come back with 3 different fixes and, based on what altitudes you want to go at. It'll try and take into account what your winds are and try to make it efficient for you. But because that's a pretty common route, at least between those two cities, that request for that clearance request gets submitted quite frequently throughout the day, and it will tell you the ones that have been most recently accepted and cleared and at which altitude. So, when you're putting it in, that's something that's been okayed recently, and it's more likely to be approved, so that when you call up for your clearance, you don't get, an entire stream of directions. You can just get cleared as filed, most likely, and that's a lot easier to manage.
Yeah.
More efficient.
Absolutely. Very good. So I hope that answers your question, Mike. So it really depends, I guess, is the answer. It depends on, what kind of flying you're doing and whether you're flying for... No, I don't wear Depends, Liz. Not yet, anyway. I'm all good in that department. Okay. So Liz, well, I'm going to do number 11, and I don't feel like making a certain super long show today, so maybe you can kind of guide me on the ones that we. Okay, so let's continue with item 11, and this is from Ahmad in Nigeria, I believe. Yeah, Abuja, and he says, "Hello, Captain Jeff," and he's been a long time listener and supporter and contributor to our show. And he said, "Hello, Captain Jeff. Please find attached my audio feedback. The tiny video clip also attached isn't really important, but you can share it if you want. That was made seconds after the audio clip when it was briefly safe to do so. Low speed, predictable flow of traffic for these few seconds." He was in a car, by the way. "I strongly recommend that folks don't try this unless they've been honing their evasive driving reflexes daily for a decade or two. Since I started driving in 1994, I've been using left foot for brake, right foot for gas, with overlapping inputs from both for razor sharp input timing." Sounds like he's an F1, Formula One driver. "Please don't mind my yapping above. I'm also a motoring, maintenance, safety, and performance geek. Cheers to you all, Ahmad." And he sent this from his Samsung Galaxy smartphone. And using that device, he recorded some audio feedback. So let's take a listen to what he has to say.
Hello, APGers. Good morning from my end of the globe, and happy Gregorian New Year to all of you. You might notice from the background noise and my shaky that I'm actually driving through traffic on my way to work. And I'm trying to keep my eyes on all of the traffic around me so I don't have any conflicts. I don't have TCAS to guide me. I just want to ask Captain Nick, when did you ever know or observe or suspect that you were a good storyteller? I mean, during your career as a pilot, fighter pilot, and airline pilot, when did you ever discover or notice that you're good at storytelling? I'm asking because from my angle as a listener, man, you certainly have a knack for telling stories. You do it as if you've been doing it for decades, as if it's been your career or something. I really love the plain tales. It's great. You tell these stories so well. Just keep up the good work. And Captain Jeff, Captain Dana, Captain Rick, Captain Steph, that's Dr. Steph. Happy New Gregorian Year to all of you. Wishing you all the best. This is Ahmad Dan Hamidou from Abuja. Over and out.
Thank you, Ahmad, for that wonderful feedback. And this was primarily addressed to Captain Nick, who's not with us today, but fear not, from his hospital bed, Captain Nick did respond to Ahmad, and this is it right here.
Oh, hi, Ahmed. It's Captain Nick here. Thank you very much indeed for your lovely feedback. It was really nice to hear your words. And actually, since I'm recording this from hospital, I can honestly say it made me feel an awful lot better. And know that you appreciate my tales. The answer to your question is I had no idea that I could tell tales in a way that would actually interest people. I assumed it was always the captain's duty to bore their first officers rigid with stories of their daring do in a previous life, and that they were usually so polite that they would never complain about them. So that's the way I sort of adopted it. It was purely by accident that I started thinking of things to put on the show with the idea of entertaining. And it actually has been through people like Radio Roger and Mainman Micah and Jeff, of course, and their coaching that enabled me to perhaps talk in a way that's more interesting. My wife hated listening to me doing my recordings in the early days. I don't think she minds quite so much now, but have helped me to develop into someone who at least can project their voice in an interesting way. As for the stories themselves, well, I've always had an enormous interest in every aspect of aviation, but particularly those who flew before us. Their stories are always so interesting. I find them fascinating, and I think, at least I hope, that interest comes across. Quick update from me. I'm currently still in hospital. I don't know when the show is going to be this week. I think Liz is deliberately keeping me in the dark, so I don't worry about trying to get out in time to be on it. But I am feeling a lot better. The heart issue is more or less resolved, but I still have some precautionary tests to go through before they release me. And very sadly, whilst I've been in a hospital, I've managed to contract the dreaded COVID. So it's going to be a matter of going home and isolating anyway, which is not much fun. But there you go. Anyway, thanks very much again for your feedback. And I hope I'm on the show to listen to me talk to myself, which should always be interesting. I hope that I'll be able to get a plain tale out in time. I've certainly got one in mind. It'll just take a little bit of research before I can do it, something I haven't had a chance to do while I've been here. Thanks very much. All the best.
All right. Good to hear from you, Captain Nick, and Ahmad. Great audio feedback, and we look forward to seeing you again soon, Captain Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully next week.
Glad things are improving.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Liz told me she had a 12? Okay. Thank you. Oh, I didn't know you were back. Let's see. Going to 12, which is the very next one. This is from Dan from Vermont. He says, "Hi all, I've been listening for 2 years now and I really enjoy the show. I have to admit, I'm sorry. I have to read the title. So let's do this next one. Feedback from Dan. He says, I can't believe I can listen for 3 hours. Hi all, I've been listening for 2 years now and I really enjoy the show. I have to admit, I put it off for a while as I thought there was into a podcast for 3+ hours, but here I am doing it. Although I do not feel like I have the syndrome, as I have not found the time to get through all previous episodes. I had originally earned my PPL in 2000 at 18 years old, then took a 16-year break for other things in life. In 2018, I took a flight review and have since earned my instrument commercial ratings, single and multi, and recently my CFI. I hope to have my CFII completed in a few weeks. February 10th is my check ride. My family and I currently enjoy getting around in our Bonanza, and I'm excited for a new to me Piper PA-12 Super Cruiser. It's similar to a Super Cub.
I know that
for
airplane. Did my seaplane rating in a Super
on
Cruiser.
floats.
Mm-hmm.
Neat. He's going to do that for some low and slow flying. I'm not sure I will ever make a living flying. However, I sure enjoy it as a hobby, and I hope to be able to give back through instructing part-time in the area. During my recent check ride and training, I was amazed how often I reference podcasts I'd listened to. I find yours and others very informative and helpful. I truly believe they have aided me in being a safer pilot. There is some excellent content out there in podcast land, and I certainly promote it to about every pilot I run into. Thanks for all you do, and congratulations on 500 episodes. Oh, thank you. If there is anyone listening who is on the fence about getting back into flying or even starting fresh later in life, I would recommend taking the plunge and doing it. I doubt they will have any regrets, as I certainly have not. Stay well and always keep learning." And again, that's Dan from Vermont, a beautiful state.
Dan, are you saying that we're later in life here? If you were 18 in 2000, we're the same age.
That's what he's saying, Steph.
He is saying that we're just getting old. But I agree with you 100%. And I would say that we're not that old. And if you're thinking about it, go get current again or jump into it for the first time. There's no reason to think that you're too old to start flying or get back into it.
Absolutely. Anything to add to that, Nick?
Nope.
Okay.
The Super Cruiser is a cool airplane, and obviously the Bonanza.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know I'm
very much on board with what's going on here.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
Definitely low and slow in the Super Cruiser. It was a great plane to fly on floats as well. I don't think we ever got above 500 feet AGL float plane training, so it's perfect.
Yeah,
for
Why would you?
One cool
There's
thing
no
about
reason to. You're just learning to do everything on the water.
Yeah. One cool thing about Super Cruiser is it's like a perfect entry airplane for a young family because you can actually put 2 people in the back seat. They have to be little. But,
very small, yes.
Yeah. But, like a adult and a child, small child, can sit in the back seat.
Very good. Yeah, I'm going to skip that one, Liz, because I didn't get the video ready for that one. So I'm going to go to 17. This is from Texas Charlie, Genki, Genki's friend. As a captain, what would you do? Howdy, y'all. I hope the new year is treating everyone well. The attached article is about an incident where a flight attendant, at minimum, allegedly disregarded his duties. As a restaurant manager, if I found an employee sitting with a girlfriend or boyfriend while on the clock, at a minimum, I would send that employee home. If that employee was disturbing diners, his or her employment would be in serious jeopardy. But I work in an ununionized industry. What would you do if this sort of behavior was brought to your attention during a flight? He says, keep the greasy side down and the shiny side up. Adios, Texas Charlie. And this article from liveandletsfly.com, a blog. And let's see, so according to the blog, a reader whom I trust shared the following story with me. On January 11th, on board American Airlines Flight 5597 from Washington, D.C. to Tallahassee. Actually, it was a company that was flying for American Airlines, not actually American Airlines. I was seated in a mostly empty domestic first-class section. There were 2 male flight attendants servicing this leg. I think he's talking about the flight. Shortly after takeoff, the taller of the 2 flight attendants approached the flight attendant in the first-class cabin and spoke to him. Immediately after they spoke, the taller flight attendant waved a girl from the coach section to come up to first class. She seated herself at the window seat on the 2-seat side of the plane. Shortly thereafter, not long after beverage service was completed, the taller flight attendant took the seat beside her. I attempted to sleep on this 90-minute flight, but soon found that impossible. The flight attendant and this woman were looking at photos on their phones and carrying on hysterically for nearly the entire course of the flight. The flight attendant neglected whatever duties he may have had to carry on with this woman until approximately 20 minutes before we landed. What disturbed me most was the coach section was quite empty as well. If they wanted to engage in these activities, why didn't they go to the back of the plane? Instead, the flight attendant chose an area of the plane where people pay for a premium experience. As I exited the airport, I was wondering if I was making too much of this in my mind. But as I was leaving, the woman who was seated in front of this couple grabbed my arm and asked me if I was upset as she was at their behavior. I thanked her for validating my feelings. I will point out that this is not the normal experience I've enjoyed from American Airlines over the years, but there does appear to be a recent downward trend. And then the writer of the blog says, pretty damning, isn't it? Doesn't matter how empty the flight was. There's no excuse for this behavior. The flight was operated by PSA Airlines, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of American Airlines. While not mainline, this was still an American Airlines flight attendant, in quotes. I write about this not to denigrate that many hard-working flight attendants at American Airlines or PSA. Rather, I share this story so that flight attendants like this are rooted out and held accountable. To the flight attendant, American Airlines does not pay you to sit down in first class and chat with your girlfriend during the flight. Those onboard upgrades are also unauthorized. Did you think no one would notice? To everyone, so many negative stories about American Airlines lately, and most of them, it seems to me, are unforced errors. I'm not anti-American Airlines. I generally enjoy American Airlines, and I think that the carrier has great potential to improve in so many areas. I look forward to seeing what Robert, is it Isom, will do to put his mark on AA. But one thing that must be done for consumer confidence to be restored is to root out flight attendants like this. They have no business wearing an AA uniform. So what do you all think? I guess is what Texas Charlie is asking. Oh, as a captain, how would I deal with this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think in this case that the captain knew.
They probably didn't know anything about it.
Right.
How would they know what was really going on?
What if he did? I mean, you would have to take the flight attendant aside after all the passengers have deplaned, and somewhere in a kind of a private area or setting, so as not to shame them and whatever, make them feel embarrassed in front of others. But I mean, that's what I would do, and I would talk to them and tell them that was an unacceptable behavior, and what they did was not allowed as far as doing a spontaneous passenger upgrade.
Is there I know for pilots, there's a lot of times companies have professional standards departments, things like that. I wonder if something similar exists for flight attendants, and that would probably be the appropriate route to address that with.
Yeah.
Because these large airlines, they've got a lot of employees. So, the folks that they're hiring are skilled, well-trained, and certainly know their roles and expectations. But it's a lot of people still. And, it's hard to make sure everyone's doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing all the time. And people can be motivated by external factors such as this when their boyfriend, girlfriend is on board. And, you can take that to the appropriate channels and make sure that it's dealt with in a professional way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, that's kind of what stood out to me too, is that if you think about like how many flight attendants are working on a daily basis on American Airlines branded airplanes, right? Whether it's a subsidiary or a code share or whatever. And I think about like all of the positives or advantages we've got out of modern media, mainstream media and social media. A lot of times when you have an issue, you can get it resolved significantly faster because of the power of social media. But I also look at something like this, and it's like I agree with Texas Charlie. There's clearly something going wrong here, but you talk about this vast population of employees, and it's very easy to single them out, or to kind of lump them into one group, or
certainly not condoning this particular flight attendant's or pair of flight attendants' actions and behavior.
Right.
Certainly wasn't professional, but you don't hear a lot about the good things that happen. No one
Right.
takes to social media to be like, I had this amazing experience to share with you.
And I think it, the other thing it goes to is the other guy, right? Like you were saying, Steph, there's so many employees. It's really hard to make sure that you have good employees, and it's not like an office job where you've got like layers of management that are directly interacting with these people. It's really up to the employees to self-police, and it, especially on a small airplane with two of them, it's really easy for one man or woman to be skirting the rules or stretching the boundaries, and it's really kind of up to the employees self-policing each other.
When the pool is that large, there's going to be some excellent employees and maybe some not so excellent ones.
Yep.
And we have to be fair. This could have been any of the major airlines, or even
sure,
non-major
it's not
airlines.
specific to this.
This just happened to be in this story. I hated to say that airline's name over and over and again, because there are a lot of outstanding and amazing employees for this company, and again, it was a subsidiary, PSA, but still, I'm sure that 99% of or more of these employees that do their jobs very well and professionally. And it's just sad that one of them, kind of made
one of them did not, and that's what makes the headlines.
Yep.
Right. So. Tom is a captain on, I don't know what airline, but he says this story, unfortunately, is very believable. Sorry to hear about this experience. Yeah. Again, this could have easily been any airline out there. We probably should have just kept it generic, but it's more not really about the airline itself. It's more about the character of this particular person, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it actually is, just the, it's interesting what Nick said about the power of social media to get things resolved. So certainly if you have an issue and you want something to be addressed, that's a good channel to have things happen quickly. it kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way, though, when they continue to needle the company over and over and over again, because, as you mentioned, it's not this particular company at fault. It's this one person. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
there
one
you
of
go.
and one of the downfalls of the large airlines, right, having their name on airplanes they're not even operating.
I know.
Yeah, that's a risk which they run, I suppose.
I remember it wasn't that long ago when you'd, fly on an Acme subsidiary or whatever you want to call it, affiliated regional airline. It wasn't. You knew it was affiliated with the big major airline, but you knew it was the regional airline because that's the way they branded everything. But I just recently flew 2 flights on my personal trip, non-revenue travel, and I'm thinking, well, there's no wonder that people think that they're on that major brand because everything the uniforms are exact, the paint jobs, everything they say is.
You were even able to get the major brand's beer on this subsidiary airline.
Right? I know. It's just like It's so you have to, as the major airline, you have to take the good with the bad. So if you have a great experience, that's great for the major affiliated airline. If you have a not so great experience, well, you just have to suck it up and just understand that this is part of the deal. If you're going to make everything look like it's your airline, then you better try to instill that kind of, the experience that you want the passengers to have. Make it a seamless, top-notch premium experience as much as possible.
Okay, I've got some flights coming up. Maybe I'll make a point to share the good things on the social medias. Make it a more positive space for all of us.
Yeah, it's so easy to share all the negative stuff on the social medias, isn't it?
It really is.
And it's hard sometimes to take the time to kind of
or
emphasize
anything.
Nice.
I always find myself much more apt to write a review of something I've bought if it didn't work out, and if it worked out like I thought. I don't think of it as often.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Care to leave a review? Nah, it's working fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I guess it's human nature, I guess. All right, and finally we're going to end with this. Jeremy sent this in. Actually, he sent this in not too long before we started recording today's show. He says, "Hi, Jeff and the APG crew. I just wanted to send you an email to let you know how deeply APG has helped me through the last year. I discovered your podcast when I was looking to listen to something aviation while at work. I had just finished Airframe by Michael Crichton, and your show was the first on my Spotify search. It was episode 467, and I was hooked. A little backstory. When I was younger, my father worked for Northwest Airlines as a ramp worker. I was driving the tugs and throwing the planes at 6-7 years old in the early 90s. I grew up around planes, and I enjoy everything about them. Around the time of episode 467, my mother was very sick with terminal cancer. I couldn't see her as often as I could due to COVID running rampant and her compromised status. Besides my wife, my mother was the world to me. She passed away on February 13th, and I miss her terribly. It's almost been a year. Your show helped me, and still does, through one of the toughest times of my life, and I will always be thankful for that. I just recently started chiming in on the live shows, and I hope I don't talk too much. No, don't have to worry about that. I was pleased as punch when you guys picked my suggestion for Tequila Tower. I screenshotted it and showed it to my wife, and she was happy for me. Thank you, Captain Jeff, and thank you to the fabulous crew for what you do. Warmest regards, Jeremy." So thank you so much, Jeremy, for that wonderful note. And I'm glad that you were there, or we were there, to help you through that very difficult time in your life. That really means a lot to us.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that positive as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. That's going to end it for today's show on an up note. And we're now going to point you over toward the airlinepilotguy.com website, which has all kinds of good stuff on it, information about the crew and the community and community calendar and the APG library, and information about merch if you want to wear some APG merch. And we have coffee fund information if you want to support us financially, and so much more. And we're also on, because we have to be, of course, in this day and time, on the social media.
Hey, we're there complaining,
means.
and you can complain to us too. No, just kidding.
No.
no, only good things. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Hey,
Yeah.
Definitely join us there, though. We're on Facebook. It's facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. Twitter, we are at APG Crew, and our individual Twitter handles are pinned to the top of that page if you want to interact with us one-on-one. And I still haven't put any of the artwork up on, shared it on our
busy.
APG Crew Instagram. And, working through a bunch of New Year's resolutions. That's one of them. I'll get to it. Maybe. Next year.
Okay. Maybe.
Maybe.
No guarantees.
Maybe. But we'll hand it over to Hillel if he's made it up to your cold cabin up there and see if
I don't
he's
know.
got information on Slack.
I think I see some activity over there. Let me see. Uh-oh. Could you...
Oh, yeah! Delta P!
We're still doing the show, Hillel. And next time, close the door, if you don't mind. Okay. Can you... All right. Zip it up. Come on over here. All right. Tell us about Slack, if you don't mind.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Hillel. Now you can go back and...
Fire in the hole!
Thank you. TMI. All right.
He has all kinds of sharing tonight.
Lots of sharing. And we also want to share our gratitude to our wonderful producer-director, Liz. Hey, Liz.
Thanks, everybody.
Back to the video. Yeah, you wouldn't believe how much work Liz does in the background. You're just, we couldn't do the show without her. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Finally, would like to, whoops. Now the crowd is just going crazy.
You're going wild.
And the crowd goes wild.
And until next time, wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and talons, Douglas.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Adios, muchachos.
Bye. Nick is so
Not
polite.
quite, Neil, but thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. If you're recording... Oh,
I'm not.
Liz, you're breaking
I
up.
said earlier on... Oh, sorry. Maybe that's mine. Sorry. Can you hear me? Yeah, no.
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear
You're
you.
frozen, but we can hear you. Your picture froze.
Yeah,
Nope.
now your voice is breaking up.
Nope, she's gone.
Okay. And she's gone.
Brief appearance.
Well, maybe
from
she'll
Liz.
she'll
probably
make her
rejoin.
way back. Oh, there she is.
Here I am.
There you are.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll quickly say two possible titles. COVID Cowboys. We were talking about COVID Cowboys earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have a cowboy riding a COVID virus. Anyway, there you go. And
Or
the other
just,
one was...
we can get our cowboy hats back out if Nick wants.
Yeah,
pictures of those.
exactly.
I'm giving him suggestions.
And the other one was making the APG sausage.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've just
That's
got
all.
squirrel's turds.
That's all I got.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Probably not a good one.
Yeah. The visual on that's not good, Steph.
Not good for the artwork.
Yeah.
So you said, Steph, you want to do the artwork for the show?
No, it will never get
No?
done. I can't even put things on Instagram.
Okay, I guess I'll have to knock it out again.
3 hours.
3 hours.
Yep.
There it was. Sorry. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right
All
on the
right.
ball.
Let's see here. Let me get back here to the bigger picture, and go over and see what we got going as far as comments are concerned. So much skidding. Slip sliding away. Oh, I was thinking of the bathroom. Sorry. APG behind the curtains. The crowd just adores lovely Liz. Yes, we do.
Oh, yeah.
I like COVID Cowboys. I don't know what you were talking about, but sounds great. Has a nice alliteration.
Yeah, I like
But
it
how would
too.
you illustrate that?
You find a little picture of the virus, with all its little
Yep, the
spikes.
spiky
and just put a
ball.
put a cowboy hat on them.
Yep, like a little COVID emoji.
Yeah, like a COVID.
Oh, I like
emoji.
it.
Yeah, I
Okay,
just I
okay.
think it'd be really
sounds
good for
pretty
you there,
easy.
Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's like
I like
30
it.
And then
seconds
and then
of
it can be
internet
saying
image searching.
yeehaw, and that's it. Yeehaw.
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 And
All
Ginky's
right.
rodeo clown.
It would be a sad irony that Captain Nick's the one always calling us Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the show that he announces he has COVID, you name the show COVID
COVID
Cowboys.
Cowboys. He's probably going to take it personally.
Nah.
Oh boy.
We'll make
He'll
sure
get
he
over
does
it.
take it personally.
Yes, yes. I hope he does. No. We hope he gets
Man,
better
Micah.
soon.
I love this one. Wasn't that a Glenn Campbell song as well? Something like a COVID cowboy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he replaces rhinestones with little COVID spiky balls.
Well,
Rhinestones
let's
on
not be
the
talking
virus.
about spiky balls.
Is that like shreddy balls?
Yeah, sweaty balls. Yeah.
You think you can work with that one,
No
Jeff?
one can resist.
Yeah, I can work with that.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks everybody for joining us again for the weekly installment of the APG. Couldn't do without you guys. You mean the world to us, and we love you, and we look forward to seeing you again. Hope you have a great weekend and a great week and all that jazz.
Happy Groundhog Day for
Yeah.
whatever's
Write some
left.
positive
Groundhog
things
Day.
on
Yeah.
Twitter. Bye.